Hey guys, welcome to the sanctuary. For those of you that are new, my name is Chris. I am a rural pastor in Canada, and I'm joined with my friend Drew from Grafted Theology. And today we are going to be reacting to a debate that recently happened between JP the Uncut and Alex Sorin. But first, hey Drew, how's it going?
Doing good, doing good. Thanks for having me on. I think it'll be fun. I've never, as I mentioned to you before, I've never been a part of uh, like a video or react video sort of thing. So this will be new for me, but I think it'll be fun.
Cool. Looking forward to it. Yes. So I don't know about you, Drew, but I really enjoy debates. And one of the reasons why I like debates is that you can be told, like, depending on the debate, depending on how good of an argument you can make, you could actually be totally wrong
Hmm.
about whatever the issue is and still win.
True.
Because it's at the end of the day, it's about whether or not you make a strong argument.
Hmm.
And so there's tons of leadership qualities that are involved in debates, and for me it's fun because going into it, depending on how good of an argument you can make, especially if it's like a theological argument, it just gets me excited. I think it's fun because I'm a theology nerd, and I like this stuff.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Like a good debate.
All right, we're gonna bring it up. Um, so, Drew, the
Hmm.
topic of this debate is on the intercession of the saints.
Right.
Specifically, is the doctrine of the intercession of the saints pre-Nicene, which means did it appear before 300-ish AD? Did it appear before the Council of Nicaea?
Hmm.
How would you describe the doctrine of the intercession of the saints? Because I'm sure there's going to be some people that watch this video that have no idea what this doctrine is. What is this doctrine?
Um. So how I would how I would define it, which again, people I don't know, people might define it differently, but how I would probably articulate it is just like we can intercede on each other's behalfs. We're told to do that in scripture. So I could say, hey, Chris, do you care to pray for me? Do you care to lift me up? Because I'm dealing with X, Y, or Z. Do you care to petition to God on my behalf for whatever? And so it's just asking you to pray for me, asking something. So the view is petitioning to um, angels or the saints in heaven, because saints is simply means like holy ones. So in the Old Testament, angels were referred to as holy ones, and then we see that same term being used for people, um, and they're referred to as holy ones. So it's not like it's saints are not just specifically just people. It's viewed as both angelic beings and simply requesting, appealing to them to say, "Hey, uh, pray for me, intercede for me, lift me up before the Lord," um, just as I would do ask of my friends and family. So that is like a very simplified understanding that I have of it.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good explanation. So, can we pray to saints? Is kind of and specifically not just pray to saints, but in the Catholic tradition and in the Orthodox tradition, I don't think this is a straw man by any means. I think the way they articulate it is they would say, well, we don't pray to saints in the way that a person prays to God, but
Hmm.
we ask the saints to pray for us. I think would be some way that they would articulate that.
I think so too, because prayer just means make a request. And so like if you're it's because people are like, oh, you're like the way we oftentimes think of prayer is people are like, well, we're supposed to pray to God alone. Well, petition or intercession or making a request, like we do that, like I said, with each other all the time. And so like making a request of somebody, I pray thee, like, well, that's not I make a request of you. So that is essentially the very basic meaning of pray. Is just simply like petitioning, making a request of. Doesn't mean like that they're worshiping the saints. It's just like it's making a request of. So yeah, I think
Right, which can be difficult for us evangelicals to kind of, sometimes it's difficult for us to wrap our minds around this,
yeah.
because for us the only time we pray, most evangelicals, is to God. And usually we do pray in like church settings, and so it does feel like a worship thing for us, and so it can
Mhm.
be a little bit difficult for Protestants to separate the worship aspect from prayer.
Yeah.
But I think when they talk about prayer to the saints, they're thinking of like in a King James old English type of way, where it's, when I say, like, pray thee Drew, would you go and get me a Coke from the fridge? I'm
Mhm.
not praying to you, like worshiping you like God. I'm literally I'm pray thee is, I'm asking you to do something for me.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So like if I asked, if I had a dog, I don't have a dog, but if I asked a dog and I was like, go fetch, well, I'm making a request of my dog, like, so it's
Oh
like,
yeah, uh-huh.
I,
That's a good
it's
analogy,
like,
yeah.
well, I'm not worshiping my dog because I asked him to go do something that I requested of him to do. Just as we make our bosses make requests of us. We may petition and ask for, like I said, fellow believers to petition on our behalves before the Lord. That doesn't mean like we. It is funny because people are like, well, we should just direct it to God. Are we not called to intercede on each other's behalves and pray for each other and lift each other up? Like Scripture calls us to do that. So
Mhm.
if you're like, well, then if you're, to me, could easily say, well, if the intercession of the saints is correct, if it's right or true, whatever, regardless, it's like we want to be fair to it, to say, if we're going to be that way about like, make that hard line that people often do with like, well, you should only make requests to God. Well, then we shouldn't ask for each other to pray for each other. We should not pray for each other because, like, you get what I'm saying. I think that you have to kind of hold
Mhm.
yourself consistent and just say, well, if according to we don't want to be bad faith actors and like be imposing something on people that hold to intercession of the saints and saying, well, you should only be doing it this. And it's like, well, then hold yourself to the same standard. Never ask for people, just appeal to God. Don't ask for anybody to pray for you.
Right, right. And so this is what the debate is trying to encapsulate, is the idea of praying to the saints, is the idea of the intercession of the saints. Did it come later in church history, or did it come early in church history? So Alex, I'll bring it back up here.
Mm-hmm.
Alex Sorin on the top left, he is an Orthodox guy. Actually, he used to be Pentecostal, but he converted to Orthodoxy.
Yeah.
And JP is he's a Pentecostal, and so there's a little bit of my heart that really wants JP to win, just because I'm biased. And so Drew, it is your job to make sure I don't get too much in my heart, and I actually stay fair when it comes to the arguments. So today we are going to be reacting to the cross examination. And now automatically Alex, he kind of has an advantage because he's an actual lawyer in real life.
Right.
And so like he does real cross examination. And
Mm-hmm.
so with that being said, we're gonna jump in and see who makes the better argument. So the goal here in cross examination, for those of you that don't know, the goal is for each person to poke holes in the opposite person's argument that they have already shared. And so I encourage everybody, go and watch the full video so you can see their full arguments. But today we're going to be focusing on the cross exam, because that's where the fun stuff is, right? Like that's where so we're going to be reacting to that.
Where does the cross exam end? Because I know that they eventually get to questions. I was trying to gauge like how.
It is, the cross exam begins at the 50 minutes and 20-second mark.
Okay, but then, like, I was curious when the cross exam ended. I guess we'll see it. I guess we'll hear it. We'll find out.
Yeah. Yeah.
the cross-examinations. Each of you, as you know, will have 20 minutes. Sorry, 15 minutes. Sorry about that. 15 minutes to cross-examine each other. And one thing I actually do have to clarify, you guys, did you want each 15 minutes or was it split?
No, I thought it
I
was
would like 20
each.
minutes each if we can, but the 15 minutes each is what we agreed to.
Oh, I thought it was 7 minutes each. I don't mind though, but I thought it was 50. I thought it was
All right.
7, but we're good.
That was my mistake. Sorry about that.
I love how like excited Alex is, and like he doesn't even want 15 minutes. He wants a full 20.
Hey, more
Because
time.
you know, like you could see the lawyer in him is kind of coming out, and he's like, "Let's just go a half hour." You know, like let's just tear each other apart. Anyway, I just thought that was funny.
That's all good.
Gentlemen, you basically know the drill. It's only asking questions. And then the person answering the questions, it's good to be as short and pithy as possible. If it looks like you're eating up your questioner's time, I have to jump in. With that, starting first, Alex, it's your chance to interrogate JP. The floor is all yours.
Yeah, JP, what does the word pray mean? The English word pray. What does that
To
mean?
ask. To ask, brother.
To ask. Okay.
Mhm.
So then you pray to people all the time, not just
Yeah,
to
but
God,
Yeah,
correct?
but they're on this realm. They're not in heaven.
Okay. All right.
Mhm.
So I just wanted, that's the first step. I get it. Like you
Alright.
pray to your parents, you pray to your siblings, you pray to your friends, correct?
If we're going to use pray in that fashion, which is to ask, I don't have an issue asking people on this realm for favors. No, yes. Fine.
Okay.
Mhm.
What does the word saint mean?
Saint, I would say it's a believer in Christ, whether departed or on earth.
Not an angel?
If you want to argue it's an angel, I don't believe that, but for the sake of argument, let's proceed and say yes.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm just gonna pause it there for a sec. So like biblically, like in the New Testament, typically like the Greek word that's used for saint is the word hagios. And hagios literally, like you'd mentioned earlier, Drew, it literally means holy one.
Yeah.
And in the Septuagint, in the Greek translation of the Old Testament, it often uses the word like holy one to talk about the angels.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so like in the New Testament, it's almost like a new thing to start talking about humans as hagios, as holy ones, because it began as a term for the angels. And so as a Protestant, I got to already give the first point to Alex because he's right. The word saint does include angels, biblically speaking.
Yes. Yeah, and there's a whole argument with like the divine council stuff connected to which if people don't know about the divine council, I suggest you check out Michael Heiser, or even Orthodox and Catholics also hold to it. And I find it funny because people are acting like it's a new thing when Orthodox and Catholics have been holding to these things for a long time.
Oh yeah, like literally 2,000 years.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not a new argument at all. But for whatever reason, in the Protestant realm, it's like, what is this new thing? But it's the divine council, God's heavenly council of holy ones, angelic beings. That term, like you're saying, it is used for the saints in the New Testament and used for individuals. So like the view is like that they are dead saints end up being ones that fell away, dropped out of God's divine council, and then human beings that holy ones become holy ones in God's divine council and are filling those seats that fallen angels no longer have. So it's viewed as people being in those seats and having authority, and that's kind of I don't think they really bring up the divine council, but I was just kind of providing some background of like why there's even a perspective of like, well, how are saints interacting? Well, it's because they're viewed as sitting on God's divine council and fulfilling a role that fallen angels lost, essentially.
Yeah, and you do see this in the New Testament, specifically in Revelation.
Mm-hmm.
There are angels in front of the throne, and then there are 24 human elders. Mm-hmm. And so you see this mixture of saints, both the angelic holy ones and the human holy ones. Yeah.
Yes.
So you don't think that you can ask angels for things?
If an angel is on this realm, yes. If an angel appears before me, but I'm forbidden to ask an angel in another realm for something.
Where are you forbidden to do that?
The Bible's clear that we pray to God. So every example of communication, yes. So every example of communication with an angel and a human is when the angel is on this realm. For example, the Garden of Eden. The angel.
So in the Psalms, when you don't think that the Psalms are an invitation or a request to angels to join them in worship?
No, because if I read the full context of those letters, I would have to be consistent. And at least you are consistent. Say that David is praying to the mountains and the fish and the birds, and I don't believe that.
Well, I mean, can't you ask your pet to do something? Can't you interact or interface with a pet? Like a dog? Can't you ask a dog to go do something?
Sure, I can ask a dog to do something, yes.
Okay, so you're praying to dogs?
Bro, no, I'm not praying to dogs, brother. I mean, if you're gonna, I'm asking a dog in this realm.
I mean,
Okay, so so Alex kind of already has him on the run here because JP did agree to the meaning of the word prayer, right, Drew?
Right. Yeah.
And so he's kind of got him like, you know, up against the ropes in the boxing ring here because like and I mean and I do enjoy like JP's like he's kind of trying to want to kind of like go with Alex, like sure, you know, like the word pray means to ask. But then like when he says like, so are you praying to your dog by asking your dog? Like he laughs because like, and you can tell like the Protestant in him is really having a hard time using the word pray in that type of a sense.
Right. Because we often with our Western mindset, like we associate certain things with certain terms. And we're not giving them like the full, kind of like holy ones or holy ones, literally, like you mentioned, it's 100% used for angels. Like I can bring it up and prove that it's used for angels. Same word, like we said, it's used for people. So it's like both the words is the same word for saints. So it's like it just is, even though it sounds weird to us to say angels are saints because we typically associate it with people, just as pray, like it being a request. I mean, that is the plain, ordinary meaning of what the word means. So it's not like we're trying to add weird baggage to it. That's just what the word is. So, yeah.
I'm just showing how inconsistent you are with your language here. It's like, yes, you can go to your dog and say, I pray thee, go get me a beer from the fridge. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. I'm trying to expose that you actually don't believe what you're saying that you do believe. Right. You believe something different. Let me ask some clarification. Okay, well, if you have an objection, go, what's your problem with my question?
Some clarification. So my position is that if something is on this realm,
I'm sorry. I'm not interested in you're explaining your position at this time, but can you so if you can interact with a dog or like beasts of the field, like it says in the Psalms, it also says you can interact with angels. Why can't you interact with angels in the same way that you can interact with other created things?
Because the Psalms don't say you can interact with angels.
They are asking them to praise the Lord.
If we read contextually, I would have to say that David was praying to the mountains, the fish, and the birds, and the Bible's clear.
Yes, and
creatures.
What you just said, you can ask creatures things.
Okay, so Alex, we're gonna play these word games. Let's not throw the debate around.
I asked you to define what pray means. You said ask. I am using your words and your definitions. I'm not playing any word games here. Don't try to play that with me. I will catch you in a second. Okay, I have dealt with like much more hostile and much smarter
Alex.
testimony than you. Okay.
Yes. All right.
So let's talk about the.
All right, we're like 2 minutes in and it's heated already.
I will say, if it's the Psalm that I believe that Alex, we both listened to this prior to us doing this. If it's the psalm that I'm recalling, I think it's Psalm 103, verses 20 and 21. I have it up because I was like trying to be somewhat prepared with just like having some stuff to discuss. Which says, "Bless the Lord, you his angels, mighty in strength, who perform his word, obeying the voice of his word. Bless the Lord, all you his hosts, you who serve him, doing his will." So David is, for all intents and purposes, sounds like he's directly addressing heavenly beings. Like, hey, bless the Lord, you his angels. He's appealing to them to, hey, bless you, his, and like I said, you are who perform his word. So he's still obeying the voice of his word. Bless the Lord, all you his hosts who serve him, doing his will. So it seems to me like he's saying this to them. Which actually there's some, I'm trying to remember where it is. There's some verses, because I've heard before. I know we have a lot of video to go, so I hope I'm not detracting this too much. You just tell me to shut up when I need to. But there is evidence that seems to be like holy ones. Again, I'm not sure if this passage is referring to people or angels, but like in Luke 15:7 says, there will be more joy in heaven over one sinner who repents than over 99 righteous persons who need no repentance. So there seems to be a coherence or awareness of what is occurring on earth, but in at least a level of respect. And so then there is that psalm that appealing. So kind of, I don't know. What's your thoughts real quick before we listen to them?
Well, I'm thinking like if I was in JP's place, what I would do, because it's JP's job is to really defend himself in the cross-examination. But like when Alex asks him the question and he frames his argument from the Psalms, if I was JP, I would point out, well, the Psalms are Hebrew poetry, and so it may be saying that, or it may be a poetic way of saying something else, right? That's what I would have done if I was in JP's position. And part of the reason why I would have done that is because like I've heard flat earthers try to argue for the flat earth because the Psalms say the earth has four corners. And it's like, that is not the point, right? And so, so for me, if I was going to formulate an argument, I know that can always be used against you when you use the book of Psalms as a theological argument. So I'm not saying Alex is wrong for doing that.
Sure.
I'm just saying he is opening himself up to an attack. But if JP doesn't poke the hole in his argument, then it's a good argument until JP proves him otherwise. That's kind of that's what I would do if I was in JP's position. But
well, and I agree with you that like yes, the Psalms do have like it is a lot of poetry, it's songs, but that doesn't remove that there's not theology involved. Like of course, like
certainly, yeah.
There is theology all throughout the Psalms. So you have to be careful to take. So it's like you can't. My thought is, if you're trying to use the Psalms as your whole argument, then that's not a great argument.
Yeah.
But if it's in conjunction with multiple things, to me, it's like it's a cumulative case. It's like, well, if this is communicating something that we see in other areas, then I don't think it's a bad argument.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah.
The Jewish tradition.
Yes.
Why are you talking about Rabbi Hanina? I already said that he's from the 200s.
Well, I was making sure that you weren't saying that Rabbi Hanina was passing down some sort of oral tradition from Rabbi Hanina of the 1st century.
Okay, so Rabbi Hanina says that one who goes out to the cemetery, in order that the deceased will request mercy on their behalf. Why do they have to go to the cemetery to do that?
So per Jewish tradition, if you go to the cemeteries and you ask for prayers to God, as the Talmud says, the departed saints can then pray for you. But it doesn't say that they pray to them directly. It's not in the text.
So why do they have to go to the cemetery if they're just going there to pray to God?
Because it's their tradition. But that does not prove that apostolically.
I'm not asking what it proves. I'm asking, why do they have to go to the cemetery if they're just praying to God?
Yeah, because it was their tradition that if they go to the cemetery and pray to God, that the departed saints who were Jews would bless them.
So do you think this is a problem for JP? Like,
what do you mean?
So he's saying that in this Jewish tradition, like Alex is saying, the Jews, they would go to the graves and they would pray to whoever had died and ask them to pray for them, and JP is saying that that's not what's happening. JP is saying they're going to the graves to pray to God, but there's still a connection with the saints. Because he's saying that if they pray to God at their gravesite, then the saints will bless them.
Right. The saints are still, according to this argument, the saints are still like interceding, even though it's an appeal to God. So it's like, I still don't think it's a great other point. I still don't think it's a good point for JP, because regardless, it's like either if they're directly appealing to the departed, the saints, and like directly, or if it's praying to God, but then the saints by proxy are like still doing something. Like, it's either way, the saints are still doing something after the fact. It's
Right.
like, well, I don't really feel like that makes it's a good case against Alex either way that you take it. And I'd have to go read the source, but I'm just saying, like, regardless, I think both ways aren't necessarily a good, it's not good support for JP's position.
Right.
You know this?
Okay, so
I was reading the Talmud the other day,
How come they have to be Jewish?
Because per the Talmud, it says that if you go to a Jewish grave, you receive more of a blessing.
I know, I'm saying why.
Well, let me finish. Because per the Talmud, if you go to a Jewish grave, you receive more of a blessing than if you go to a Gentile grave. It's all the Talmud. I read it.
Why? I'm asking why.
Because
I know what it says. You just repeated what it says. I'm asking why do they say that?
Yes, because the Jews are to be believed to have a higher anointing per the Talmud over the Gentiles.
Okay, so I will share my screen for a moment here. You did not address I
don't know how else to address it.
My the one that I emphasize the most from the Jewish tradition in the Bereshit Rabbah, which cites to Rabbi Shimon ben Gamaliel, who literally is saying that people, I don't know if you can see it, you should be able to see it on your screen.
Yeah. Okay.
He's saying that the reason why that monument is there so that people can go pray to Rachel.
Excellent. So what this is, because I read it, is an extension to what the Bible says. So if you actually go to that passage and you open up the passage, what they're saying happened in that passage isn't actually there. So I'm not going to.
I know it's not actually there. I'm saying, what do I make sense with this?
What do you mean? This is a 5th century compilation.
And it's citing a 1st century rabbi.
No. This is a 5th.
Rabbi Gamaliel is a 1st century rabbi.
Okay, wait. This is a 5th century compilation of what a supposed rabbi said in the 1st century about a text that's not even there.
Okay, what reason do you have to disbelieve the text?
Well, if you open up the text with Rachel and the tombs, because if you actually read the commentary, it gives you the biblical passage of where that's
what
at.
Reason do you have to not believe this, JP?
Because it's not in the text. So why would
it's not in the text. Do you so everything that's not in the Bible, you don't believe it?
I'm not going to believe a satanic Talmud that tells me that in the Old Testament there were people praying to Rachel. When you open up the Old Testament,
I'm asking you as a historical witness. So everything that's not in the Bible, you don't believe it? Is that what you're telling me?
What I'm telling you is that I reject the Talmud.
Okay,
being an
let me ask you
authority
this.
that you're
So
going to say when it's
nowhere in the
something-
Bible does it say that 2 + 2 = 4. Let's say that there is, hypothetically, let's say that there is a place in the Talmud that says 2 + 2 = 4. Are you not going to believe that 2 + 2 = 4 because it's in the Talmud and not in the Bible?
No, brother, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that when you examine
This is an analogous situation.
Let me finish.
So you have.
Wait, let me
I'm not
finish.
interested in you finishing
you
your
have to let
answer.
me
You have
finish.
your
You
answer is
asked the question,
sufficient.
you have to let me finish.
Your answer is
You
sufficient.
have
I'm
to-
not going to let you keep on going
I'm
to
not
run your time.
satisfied.
I
I'm
get
not
you're
satisfied.
shaking in your boots here. I get it.
Can I finish?
Drew, are you familiar with the Talmud at all?
I know that it's a Jewish text. I've not read any of it, so I'm not super familiar with any of its writings. I just know that it's a later Jewish text.
Mm-hmm. When JP calls it the Satanic Talmud, rhetorically, what do you think about that?
I mean, I have heard that it's got some things that are not. Again, because I haven't read it, then like I don't have a lot of commentary on it particularly. So like I have heard that it's not good. So like anything against Christ is considered like antichrist. So like okay, like if it's against God and goes against his word and these things, like then sure, in I guess we could call it satanic, like I don't know, because again I haven't read it, so I don't know if it's like actually evil or what it genuinely contains. So it's hard for me to have like a whole lot of commentary on the thing when I'm not that familiar with its writings.
My interaction with it hasn't been with the Talmud itself. It has been with secondary sources talking about the Talmud. And I so kind of like it's kind of shaped like midrash. So it's kind of like a bunch of different rabbis' opinions, right? And so they're writing down. Some of them make commentary on Bible verses. Some of them make commentary on how to keep the laws of Moses, that sort of thing.
Okay.
And so sometimes, actually a lot in the Talmud, some of the rabbis, they will have opposite opinions of the guy that's writing like before or after him.
Oh, okay.
And so some of it will be kind of in competition with each other because it's just different rabbis doing theology, basically. And Jesus is mentioned a couple times in the Talmud, and I don't have the exact quotes, but a couple of them, they basically say that Jesus was a sorcerer and he was doing his miracles through magic and sorcery, and that sort of thing. And so definitely blasphemous in that sense. Which
sure. And so in that sense, we could be like, totally.
Yeah. Sorry, what were you gonna say?
Oh no, I was agreeing with you. I was like, yeah, totally satanic in that way of like if it's blasphemy against God, then yeah. So
yeah. But anyway.
So the analogy was, can we freeze the time for a moment? The analogy was, so I said in the Talmud, it says that Jacob put the monument on Rachel's grave, and that's all that it says in the Bible. In the Talmud, it says that the monument was put there on Rachel's grave so that passersby know that that's her grave so that they can go pray there. So JP is saying, I'm not going to believe the Talmud when it's not in the Bible. So the analogy I made is, if the Talmud says 2 + 2 is 4, nowhere in the Bible does it say 2 + 2 is 4. Are you going to disbelieve that 2 + 2 is 4 because it's in the Talmud and not in the Bible?
James, can I respond to that?
So
See, I like how now, like, they're not even talking to each other. They're talking to the moderator now.
yeah, let's pause.
So they brought him in to mediate, which is kind of ironic when you think about it.
Kind
Intercession of the saints. Now the moderator is their mediator.
Intercession of the moderator.
Yeah, I need to clarify because he's not letting me finish he's not.
His answer to that. His answer to that.
Yeah, so I was literally.
We haven't gotten even to his objection yet.
I was literally. Yeah.
So I think he's actually like muting them so that people can't hear everything that's being said right now.
Yes. I was mid-sentence and he cut me off. Can I finish my sentence, moderator?
Yeah, bro, like this is your chance. Go.
Okay,
that's what I just asked you for, is what did he get wrong when he paraphrased you?
Yes. So I was going to finish and say that I examined the evidence. And due to the fact that this is just a baseless claim,
he's not answering your question, James.
This is all right. Let's carry on.
He's just continuing his answer. And I said your answer is sufficient. You said no. Of course, you're not going to accept that if it says 2 + 2 in the Talmud and it doesn't say 2. You're still going to believe 2 + 2 is 4.
No, I said that because I have to examine the evidence, I cannot take this as fact if I go back and it's not there. So by what basis am I going to?
You're not tracking the analogy, dude. You're not tracking the analogy.
I sure do.
Is there a contradiction between? I guess you can start the time again, James. Is there a contradiction between what it says in the Talmud and what it says in the Bible?
I would say that there's some misinformation because what's stated here is not there in the Bible.
Is there a contradiction?
It depends how you define what a contradiction is. Are you saying that the Bible?
Two things that cannot be both true at the same time.
Yeah.
Is there a contradiction?
I would say it's not a contradiction per se.
Okay, thank you. So then it is possible. I'm not interested in what you're saying. I'm interested in the answer to my question.
So this is what we're doing.
Okay.
No
oh my God,
cool.
dude. Okay.
Right.
So if there's not a contradiction, it's possible that the monument could be there so that passersby could pray to it and pray to Rachel there, know where her grave is. And also it could be true at the same time that it's not stated in the Bible, correct?
So my response to that is going to be...
This is a yes or no question, JP.
Oh, so now you dictate how I answer as well.
You can give your reasoning. This is a yes or no question. I'm just asking for the courtesy to say yes or no first and then explain.
We can give you we just want it to be pithy, JP. So if you want to say 1 or 2 sentences, okay, but he's just wanting to make sure you don't go too far.
Yeah. I could give 1 or 2 sentences, absolutely. So is it possible? I would say I would examine the evidence, and the answer to that is no. I don't think that it's possible.
You just said that it's not a contradiction.
I said that I believe this is misinformation.
On what basis?
On the basis that when I open the text, it's not there.
You realize that there's no contradiction. It could be logically possible.
I didn't say it's a contradiction. I said it's misinformation.
On what? You're saying it's misinformation on the basis that it's not in the Bible.
Alex, why should I believe
it? Doesn't have to be in the Bible.
Why should I believe this?
Because there's a reliable historical witness here. It's not a doctrinal question.
Was Jesus...
Just to be sure, Alex is asking the questions because we're really strict cross-examination. So I have to ask you to refrain from questions, JP.
Okay, no problem.
Okay, you said in 1 Enoch 105 that Enoch was material?
What happened in the story of 1 Enoch 105...
This is a yes or no question. Why do you punt? I have 2 minutes, man. Come on.
Yes.
Okay, so how is he in the realm of the angels and also material at the same time?
Because the guy went to look for him and he spoke to him face to face.
After he called out to him, though, isn't it?
Okay, so for those of you that are watching, the Book of Enoch is considered Second Temple literature. It was written probably a couple hundred years before Jesus, and there's 2 sections in the Book of Enoch that Alex brings up in his main argument. In one section, the giants or the Nephilim are causing so much violence in the world that all the pain and the suffering, the people cry out, and the archangels hear them, and then they go to God on behalf of the humans. And so he uses that as an example of intercession to the saints. If we are agreeing that the archangels are the Hagios. They're the holy ones, so they're considered saints. And there's another story later on in the book of Enoch where Enoch he's taken into heaven, and his son, I think it's Methuselah. So Noah is born, and he's like a special baby in the book of Enoch. I actually read this afternoon, just trying to figure out what exactly these guys are arguing about. And so Noah is born, and Methuselah thinks Noah is a Nephilim because he's like such a beautiful baby. And so he's worried that the Nephilim are in his own bloodline now. And so he goes to Enoch, who is, the text says, in the realm of the angels. And so now this is what Alex and JP are disagreeing about. Alex is arguing that Enoch is in heaven, and so this is an example of the intercession of the saints, because Methuselah is contacting Enoch, who is not on earth, and JP is going to have a different interpretation.
True that it's after he called out to him that
He
Enoch appeared.
He went to the location wherever Enoch was. He went there and then called out to him, and Enoch came.
It says Enoch is in the realm of the angels. That's
You have
immaterial,
to swear
correct?
that, not me.
No, you have to. Oh my goodness. Okay,
No,
next.
I do not.
I
Because
think
he
everybody
went
can see
there.
how ridiculous your
No, it's
answer was.
not.
You're
It's
literally
what the
just
text-
not
it's what the
tracking.
text-
Okay.
Gotta try to hold you to just questions, Alex.
All right.
It's what the text says.
I get it.
buddy.
Okay, so in Job, where Elihu in Job 33 says that there's an angel beside Job, a mediator out of 1,000. Is that talking about an angel?
Yes,
Okay, so Job has a mediator,
sure.
an angelic intercessor.
You can say that the angel perhaps delivers
I
information.
have 1 minute, JP.
Yes.
Job 16 says, this is Job speaking, my intercessor is my friend. As my eyes pour out tears to God, he contends with God on behalf of man, as a man pleads for his friend. When Moses talks to God, when it says that Moses spoke to God face to face, what does the text describe that like in Exodus?
It describes it like he was talking to God face to face.
And it says as a friend, correct?
Sure.
And here in Job 16, he says that his angelic intercessor is as a friend, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Moving on. 1 Timothy 5:17 says that this is my last question. I'm probably going to go slightly over just to get the
You
question
actually-
out.
Hey,
But
just go ahead,
On
finish
my
it.
side, you do have about 2 minutes.
I didn't
and
pause it when you
Chris.
paused it. All right, thank you. I forgot about that. It says
Yeah.
I feel like that alone is like those couple passages where he's like, hey, there's a heavenly intercessor, and asking JP to say, like, literally go back, so he's like, hey, is he appealing and talking to an intercessor? And JP says yes. I'm like, to me, like, sort of in a sense right there's it kind of
He kind
At
of
least-
conceded the point, didn't he?
yes, and at least in this spot it's like, well, it says now it's not the whole argument of like and the remember if what the whole debate topic was like, is this biblical or I can't remember the whole debate topic, but like at least here it seems like he concedes the point, which in my opinion kind of sounds like it kind of just defeats his whole argument. Like you're just conceded that there's an intercessor, a heavenly intercessor, which would be according to the word that we discussed, like what was the word for saints?
Hagios.
Yeah, if there's a hagios, a heavenly intercessor, and he's got somebody interceding for on his behalf, which is contends with God on behalf of man, and it seems like it kind of just like the debate, like, well, okay, the debate's over. I don't know. It seems like a pretty powerful point, actually.
Yeah. So, and this is for those of you that are not really in the debate world. This is known as Alex is taking JP down the garden path.
Yep.
Is the way people kind of frame this. So the idea here is that Alex is going to ask him like 4 or 5 questions. And the idea is that if you follow the logic, in order for you to be consistent, you have to say yes to the question at the end, right? Like, so it's kind of like a pattern of questions. And so Alex is leading JP in a direction because he's going to give him a gotcha at the end. And this is kind of what he did here, right? Because he takes him through Job and he's like, is this about an angel? Yes. Is an angel a holy one? Yes. And then he has the scripture on the screen right here. And so the angel is going to go to God for you and basically pray for you, right? He's going to defend you to God. He's going to like a lawyer would. And then so is this intercession of the saints, right?
Right. It
And
says
so
advocate, intercessor, like the
right. So he's using all of these advocate. I mean, the word intercessor is literally in the text, right? So now on my end, if I was in JP's place, I would be like totally legalistic about this, and I would look for any sort of loophole. And what he could say is, well, the text doesn't say that Job prays to the angel to go and be an intercessor. I would say, well, maybe this is like a guardian angel thing where the angel is going by himself because he's seen what has happened. And so you're not actually asking the angel to intercede for you. Now, that's kind of like a lowball weak argument, but it's an argument, right? Like it's something, it's a loophole. But again, if JP doesn't make that argument, Alex's argument stands. Right. And so like that's what I would do. Like I would look for anything. Like, is there any loophole in this? Anything I can hold on to? But JP doesn't do that though. JP just agrees with him. And so now we actually have, by his own admission, we have one passage at least in the Old Testament that might support this idea. So now he's really in hot water now, because he's almost conceded the debate at this point.
Pretty much.
Because if it's in the Old Testament, it's pre-Nicene.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Do you have any further thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, I get the, well, especially in a debate, it's hard we're able to sit back, kind of hear it all, and then try to and provide critiques while you're in the middle of it. Your brain,
oh yeah, we're calm right now.
Right.
Like JP, his brain is not calm.
Right. You're on the hot seat. And so
you're not even always thinking clearly. But that's part of the reason why debates are fun is
right. Oh, I don't think I ever, if I was in a a conversation with someone that we disagreed on a point and it was purely like a non-formal conversational dialogue about disagreement, I think I could totally do that, where we're just like, hey, what about this point? What about this verse? Whatever. But a formal debate, I don't know if I'll ever do one, because I think my brain
so filled with anxiety and stress. Yeah,
I feel like my brain would shut down, and I feel like I would probably lose, even if I had great arguments. I feel like I would lose straight up by the fact that like my brain under pressure would say something stupid or whatever. And yeah, but I think right here, like we were saying, I think your point of, hey, is he praying, asking for this, or is the angelic being, the Holy One, doing it, just naturally situation? I don't think it says it. I would have to read the whole context. So, because it says, even now my witness is in heaven. So it is showing that there's awareness of some capacity of what is going on earth, that this Holy One is able to be aware. So when people make the arguments, I will say, given this, when people make the arguments of like, well, how can the saints in heaven hear or understand what people are saying? Well, at least here, this angelic being, this Holy One, is able to be aware of Job's situation. So there's at least that. And he says, my advocate is on high, my intercessor. So again, intercession is directly there. Advocate is directly there. Is my friend as my eyes pour out in tears to God. He contends. So again, these sort of words that are provocative for the advocate, intercessor, someone that's contending with God on behalf of man. As man pleads for his friend. And then in the Job 33 passage right beneath that, it says, angel beside him, one mediator out of 1,000. So again, we're reading these partially out of context, but that if that is referring to that Holy One again, as it seems to be, then that's another word, advocate, intercessor, something you want. Contending is not necessarily using a word that's for the subject itself, but it is an action that that intercessor and advocate is doing, which is still connected to that. And then mediator. So there's all these words. It seems very, regardless of if Job is himself appealing to the intercessor, the action of the intercessor is still occurring with awareness of the individual. So it seems the logic does still seem to follow that if the intercessor, advocate, mediator, the one that's contending, is aware of the situation, then it does not seem that far of a logical jump to say we are aware of the position that this person is in, then it doesn't seem that far of a logical jump to make the connections that Alex is trying to appeal to. So I do think it's a strong argument.
Oh yeah, and Alex, I'll give him credit. Alex knows how to put a good argument together.
Because he's a lawyer. Yeah.
He's a lawyer. It's what he does, right? Yeah.
God face to face.
And it says as a friend, correct?
Sure.
And here in Job 16, he says that his angelic intercessor is as a friend, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Moving on. 1 Timothy 5:17 says that this is my last question. I'm probably going to go slightly over just to get the question out. But
on my side, you do have about 2 minutes.
Oh, I didn't pause it when you paused it. All right, thank you. I forgot about that. It says in the presence, St. Paul says to Timothy that to reprove those who continue in sin so that the rest also will be fearful. And I solemnly charge you in the presence of God and of Christ Jesus and of his elect angels. Is he invoking angels?
No.
So it says in the presence of God, is he invoking?
What do you think about this one, Drew? So for me, I thought this was Alex's weakest part of his argument, but I'm really interested. What do you think about 1 Timothy 5:17 through 21?
Let's I'm going to quickly. I think that it's part of it is paraphrased because there's the ... So let's see. Others who lead, you're out to be considered. Those who continue in sin, reprove in the presence of all. Okay, so reproving those who continue in sin, reprove in the presence of all. So this is reproving so that the rest also will be fearful. Okay. I solemnly charge you so positioning myself to kind of be in the headspace of the position of the person. This would be Paul, right? Or is this Timothy?
This is Paul
writing
charging Timothy.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I charge you in the presence of God
and
to observe
of
these
Christ Jesus
instructions with no
and
bias.
his elect angels to observe these instructions. So if I am charging Timothy, I'm charging you. I'm like giving you a directive, a sort of command, a push here in the presence of God and of Christ Jesus and his elect angels. So in the presence of basically the whole divine council, God, Christ, and the angelic beings, to observe these instructions without bias, do nothing impartiality. So to me, it seems like appealing that like in a court, sort of if I was like in the presence of a courtroom, like having all these witnesses to say, hey, I'm charging you in front of everybody, God, Christ, and his angels, which of course Christ is also God, but like in front of this, I mean, it's not that to me, it's not that it sounds like he's speaking directly to those who are in the presence, but it's because it's the point is the charge is in front of them again,
Right.
like witnesses. So yeah, I get your point. I don't think it's the strongest passage, but I don't discount it completely because again, like I said, it's a cumulative case. So, but I do see it as a weaker verse because it's saying these are all my witnesses that I'm charging you to do this thing.
Yeah. So, and like for me, it was more so like I was thinking like, okay, like this is in the context of a letter, right? And so like I wasn't totally sure like what he was getting at because like does the letter like summon the angels? And like okay, like Paul when he wrote it, he is, like this is real, right? Like when he's writing it, and so he writes, I charge you in the presence of God and of Christ Jesus and of his elect angels to observe these instructions, right? And then 3 months later, Timothy gets the letter. And so like, I don't even know how to understand how that would work. Does that make sense?
Well,
like does the assembly go with the letter and it has the exact same authority as when Paul wrote it like 3 months earlier? Or is this like I'm writing to you in the name of the judge, and so it holds the authority
that's kind of
like,
how
is it
I'm
more like that?
It to me, that's kind of the vibe that I'm I don't want to mischaracterize this passage at all. I know we're kind of just like jiving off of how we're understanding it. You missed everything.
You missed everything, Steve. Like
everything's
so much.
over.
So much goodness.
The debate.
Yeah, right. We're like halfway through.
No. So the to me it's almost like I mean, like God is my witness. This like that's kind of how I'm taking it. This sort of authority behind it that I'm charged with. Yeah, like a courtroom, like I said, like kind of this charge of like almost like if I was putting my hand on the Bible. Hey, I'm like I'm swearing by this. I'm putting the authorities in this to push that, regardless of somehow, like you said, the God and Christ and the angels following the letter somehow. I think it's just more of like this is in the presence of all these witnesses. I'm charging you to this obedience. Like I think that's the point.
Yeah. Which makes sense because Alex is a lawyer, so it makes sense that he would go with that kind of an analogy. Now, I do think out of all his arguments, it's really difficult to defend because there's at least 3 or 4 different possible ways to interpret this. And so I just thought this was one of the weaker points of his argument, but
I see that.
But we'll see what JP does.
God?
No. You can do something in the presence of God. You could do something in the presence of angels and not actually be invoking them.
So if I solemnly charge you in the presence of, let's just use a hypothetical, in the presence of the government of California, am I invoking the government of California?
If you're charging me it depends in the particular scenario. So in that particular scenario, it depends if you invoke them in a particular manner, because within court, you can have witnesses and not within.
Are you invoking the government of California?
Yes, but then within that.
Okay, so but you say that it works
examples
there, but when it comes to God or Christ or the angels, it's not an invocation, correct?
No, because even within the court system, you could have examples where you can declare or charge something and the witnesses are there and they're not specifically being invoked.
Okay, so we have in Judea, you have the Jewish tradition that I would say talks about intercession. First Enoch, I think very clearly is Methuselah asking Enoch from the angelic realm to appear and ask him a question. in Egypt, you have these papyri that I mentioned, the Subtuum Presidium, the Oxyrhynchus Papyrus, and the Hymn of the Three Youths. In Carthage, I have the Passion of St. Perpetua, which is a document from the 200s, which literally describes a bishop going and asking the parishioner that was under their jurisdiction. I'm leading up to it, okay? So all of these places that I have on this slide here, can you see it?
Yes.
Let's see. Assuming for the sake of argument that these documents that I have attached to them talked about intercession to the saints, wouldn't you concede that that is established practice if it is true that these documents talk about intercession to the saints?
Depends on the dating.
These are all pre-Nicene.
Well, it depends particularly if it's mid-3rd century, end of 3rd century, early 4th century. As I said earlier. They
are all pre-Nicene. You can be in the 4th century and still be pre-Nicene.
Yeah, but then that furthermore proves the point that it wasn't an established practice in the apostolic era.
Time. Okay, we're going to switch over. That was very productive. It's going to be strict. So JP, we need you to only ask questions. And then Alex, of course, we need you to only answer, refrain from asking questions back. It's okay, obviously, and same thing. If you have a question, Alex, where you're like, well, define that term, that's okay. And JP, I can, pause it. That way, just like we did for Alex, you don't lose any of that time to interrogate. With that, JP, the floor is all yours.
Yeah, so Alex, would you say that God's face is hidden knowledge to us?
Yeah.
All right.
Check.
Would you say that it's necromancy if I request to know what God's face looks like?
I don't know.
You don't know?
Necromancy, as I understand it, is like trying to resurrect someone who's dead using black magic.
It's inquiring of the dead, brother, asking them. The reason that intercession, and I'm leading up to a question right now, the reason intercession of the saints.
I'm not gonna lie, I love JP's confidence. Like he's just like it's inquiring of the dead, brother. It just is like it's just like it's a fact, And anyways, I just want to I like JP's energy.
Is in necromancy. It's because you're not inquiring information. So do you agree that necromancy is inquiring for information?
We're just going to disagree on the definition of necromancy, so I can't answer the question because I don't agree with the premise.
Okay, so what do you believe?
I have a thought.
Go ahead, Drew.
So the something on this, it's on the topic, because I think that depending, of course, you have to kind of agree on definitions, and so
Which
if people
don't. Which they don't.
Right, and so like if you don't agree on how you're going to, kind of like how they agreed that pray was ask. So it's like, okay, we've defined the definition, but then when you're not agreeing on the definition of, like, let's say necromancy, well, then you're not gonna land or be going to come up with an agreed upon definition there. And so I think that it becomes murky, because if JP's arguing a particular way for necromancy because the way he's defining it, and then Alex is defining it differently, then there's not been an agreed upon definition. But regardless, something that because I've looked at in the past, like it's Elijah, right, that goes to the Witch of Endor, right?
No, King Saul.
Oh, my bad. Yeah. Okay. King Saul trying to get to speak with Elijah or Elisha, right? That's what
Samuel.
I'm so bad. Like, oops, I have completely the wrong names.
All
right.
Drew, I'm an Old Testament nerd, and so yeah, like
my bad.
Like, this is not normal information to just know,
right?
But
it's the Witch of Endor, which is a really cool name. I remember that one because it sounds like something from Lord of the Rings. The Witch.
It really does.
Like,
it really does.
She's not a good one, but it's still a cool name.
Well, neither was Denethor, so he was from Gondor, not from Endor. But
yeah. Regardless, something that I've studied before on this is that necromancy a lot of times was viewed as familiar spirit sort of stuff, was that the person trying to summon them, they were called, if I remember correctly.
Not everyone is a nerd, Amber. Just throwing that out there. Like, we're not normal, and I've just embraced that. We're just not normal. And
Endor is really a star.
Endor is literally in Star Wars. You guys suck at nerd cred.
Yeah. Okay. Anyhow, so they were called like obes, if I'm remembering right, which is like an earthen vessel, and so they were called that because they basically like got possessed by the spirit and then spoke, because they were considered like an empty vessel that would then got housed by the familiar spirit to then basically like speak, like basically they were possessed. And so it's really creepy. But that's kind of how they were viewed, as evoking the dead was basically by being a vessel for the dead to speak through, as my understanding from like studying some of that. So, but yeah, it totally, again, depends on how they're defining, because what we could pull up a modern definition of these things too, which doesn't necessarily mean that it's the way that the early writers, understood necromancy as well. So
and that's the problem with especially like modern day dictionaries, because lots of words today don't mean what they meant 2,000 years. Like all words do not mean what they meant even 400 years ago for the most part, right? And so, but like my understanding is they're both kind of right, and they're both kind of wrong, right? Like necromancy, it's kind of a loaded word, and it means kind of like several different things at once. Sometimes when the word is used, especially in the Old Testament, a lot of times it is used for using black magic, or what we would think of as black magic, as a form of witchcraft, to summon the dead, and you ask the dead about what's going to happen in the future because they have more information than we do, was the idea. And so JP is kind of right. Like that is one form of necromancy, but also pretty much all black magic that has to do with summoning the dead is necromancy. So it doesn't have to be just that one thing, because like literally necro is the word dead, right? And so like that's kind of the tip off. And so like I just totally lost his name. Alex. So like Alex, he will argue, like he thinks what it means is like resurrecting the dead to talk to them, and through black magic. So Alex is not wrong when he says that. Like that is the black magic part of it. But also JP isn't wrong either. But the problem is they didn't define the definition, and so now they can't even talk about this because they don't agree on what the word is.
Right. There's not an agreed upon foundational definition to move forward. So they're going to just be speaking past each other because it's like, well, we just don't agree on that.
Right. And so, and this is another thing, like Amber brings up, and who says the saints are dead? Like JP is making this assumption going in, right? And they don't even agree on that.
Well, a lot of times again, going back to the view of like the Obe speaking by a familiar spirit. So it wasn't even the dead, it was demons that these people that were invoking stuff were, just like we see in seances and stuff. It's like you're not speaking to grandma, like you're speaking to demon, like it's that's mimicking, especially in these seances and these demonic rituals and stuff. Yeah. They're invoking the dead when it's familiar spirits that are possessing or imitating in a lot of these cases. So
well, and even that's another thing too, because some people will say that, well, the spirit is telling you what the dead person is saying, right? Like whether or not that's true or not, like is not provable. But like you can go down a weird occultish to a weird occult place, because even they will say, well, the demon can go into Hades and talk to the person for you, right? Like there's also like that level of necromancy, but we've gotten into a weird place now. So
Sure.
we should probably just play it.
Yeah. All right.
Believe necromancy is.
As I said, using black magic to bring people back from the dead. If you're going to talk about a seance and trying to contact the dead, that's different than necromancy.
All right. Moving forward, then, if you don't want to answer the question of necromancy, very, very smart of you as well.
Be
Let me ask
careful
you,
about even that commentary. I've got to try to press you to just ask questions.
Okay, no problem. How many catacombs encryptions were discovered, brother?
Oh man, this was a thing that I almost felt bad for JP, because every time he tried to talk about the inscriptions, he said the wrong word every single time.
Oh yeah, encryption.
And I felt so bad for him, because I think it makes you look worse than you actually are. Like, I don't think that's actually a huge defeater, but it's like when you're on social media and you write out this brilliant argument that just owns the person, but if you misspell one word, your argument is nothing and you're an idiot because you misspelled one word.
Everybody
right?
pokes that and it's like, you're stupid because you misspelled what? Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Encryptions, I don't know about code in the catacombs. Inscriptions, there were like tens of thousands. Not all of them were invocations of saints or asking them for things.
What percentage of them were prayers to Paul and canonized saints?
I think probably in the hundreds.
No, what percentage from 1 through 100?
I don't know what the percentage is off the top of my head. I'm not a human calculator.
Yes, so scholars would argue and say that it's less than 1%.
Great.
Now, the question at you is, how can you establish a doctrine as pre-Nicene and apostolic for something that's less than 1%?
Because it's a collective case. It's not just inscriptions in the catacomb.
Yes, but your collective case, we have to go piece by piece, because all of the pieces of information you gave, leading up to a question, James, all the pieces of information you gave were invalid and they don't prove intercession of the saints. So my question to you is this: how do you deal with the Talmud when the Talmud says that you pray to God directly and God alone?
I don't think the Talmud says that. I've talked to Orthodox Jews that have completed school, not just Ashmays. I've talked to Jacob Federecci. They all say that the Talmud teaches that you can ask the saints for things.
Okay, well, I quoted the Talmud itself word for word, and the Talmud itself says, and the Talmud itself says, and I'll read it for you. It says, if a person faces distress, let him not cry out to Michael or Gabriel, rather let him cry out directly to me and answer him immediately. And of course, we have the examples where people prayed to other things other than God and they repented. How do you deal with that?
Because the Talmud is about debates between rabbis. Not everything is set in stone. You'll have differing opinions right next to each other, literally, in the Talmud.
But wouldn't you say that cuts on your side? Because then it means it wasn't an established practice that they went to the graves to pray to the saints, because that is also debated.
Well, what time period is the rabbi that you're quoting for your?
Okay, so if anybody's ever in a debate with somebody, don't ask questions like that. Like, because they're not going to agree with you, right? Like if you give somebody the opportunity to agree with a point you just made or disagree with a point you just made, they're just not going to agree with you. No, no matter what, right? Like, do you agree, Drew? Like that's a silly question.
No. I'm just kidding. Yeah, I was trying to make the point.
That was the right thing to say.
No, I agree. Who says Christians let Christ rejecting rabbis define Christianity? Yeah, I mean it's
right. Exactly.
Right. Alex's case is a, like he said, a collective case. So it's not just as you can see. Well, there's the argument from silence as one type of argument. There's the argument from your people that are against your position, which gives evidence that it was held. There's argument from those who hold your position. So there's Alex's argument is that there's just from Old Testament to intertestamental, literature to deuterocanonical, like it's a cumulative. So it's like, well, just because you see some dispute between different people in the Talmud does not does not negate just the whole argument. It's like, well, we see this, we at least see even if the practice is being disputed, it's still in the Talmud. Again, I haven't read the Talmud, so even if they are disputing it, it's still showing that someone was practicing it. Like even if it's disputed. So to me, it's like doesn't negate all of Alex's argument just because if it is even in the Talmud.
Yeah. So JP, he was right to bring up that what Alex just said does undermine his argument by stating that, well, the rabbis disagree with each other all the time. So JP was right to bring that up. He was right to mention that undercuts Alex's argument, but he didn't hit it hard enough. And then he gave Alex an opportunity to say, no, it doesn't undermine my argument. But yeah, I don't think JP hit that hard enough.
Or citation.
The time period but before we go there, can you answer my question? Because you're not supposed to.
I can't, because I can ask a question if it's to clarify your question.
Amber, this is a great comment. I have to highlight this. You don't have to read the Talmud. It's the Twitter for ancient rabbis.
That's funny.
That's great.
No, if it's the object to your question.
Since you said that it's up for debates and things of that sort, and Rabbi Levi was talking to Rabbi Hanina, my question to you is, couldn't that standard be used against you? In the 3rd century, by the way.
I'm telling you, it could be, but first I need to know what time period the rabbi you are citing is from.
Okay, the rabbi that I'm citing from is 5th century to a 5th century compilation of a 3rd century. It's the same thing as your rabbi.
Okay, well then we have a split opinion. There's a majority and a minority opinion. I think that if you take the weight of the Talmud, you have, again, like I quoted Rabbi Gamaliel, Rabbi Hanina, and there was the third one who's slipping my mind right now.
Sufficient. Thank you. Can you tell me an apostolic father? Well,
that was good. He's using Alex's language again. That's
Alex is smiling. He's like, okay, yeah.
Even he's like, yeah, okay, that was pretty funny.
You did it to me. Can you tell me an apostolic father or ante-Nicene father that said that you can pray to saints directly?
Saint Hippolytus just does it because it's not controversial and they don't need to command it to people. Because everybody did it.
Where does he do? What is the
in his commentary on Daniel when he asks the Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego to entreat him?
You mean in the same commentary where he was talking to Nebuchadnezzar and he was asking Nebuchadnezzar why he was wicked?
So this is the same mistake that you made when you were talking about Isaiah, talking about the devil. So again, we both agreed that pray means ask. Isaiah is not asking the devil for anything. There might be questions, but he's not like asking him for something, right? It's just like a rhetorical question, right? So it's not a prayer. And also you can distinguish in Saint Hippolytus.
Thank you. So it's not a prayer when it's convenient, but it is a prayer when you want it to be. Because if we take the full letter in its totality, the full letter in its totality is him addressing people that have passed. But then when you get to the 3 youths, then you say that's a prayer.
Because when you get to the 3 youths, he says, I entreat you. He never uses prayer language like that for Nebuchadnezzar.
Okay. I want you on the record.
It's different because it is different.
I want you on the record.
I mean, the whole thing's recorded.
Okay, yes, but I want you on the record with this.
Sure.
Is it okay?
The sass is like so good. I love it. I love it. I want
you on record.
For a saint
Depends on the question.
Yeah, is it okay for a saint on earth to ask a saint in heaven how God's face looks like when you just said that it was hidden?
I don't see why not. I think there's like the saints are constantly pushing the limits out of love. Is it okay for St. Paul to say that he'd rather be anathema than his kinsman to go away?
So then if you're going to say that it's okay for you to ask a saint in heaven for hidden knowledge, you just affirm necromancy.
Again, we disagree on what necromancy means.
No,
So
but it's not.
He's really hitting the necromancy thing hard, isn't he?
Yeah, and again, it goes back to what we said earlier. If they didn't agree on what the definition was, then you can't really move forward. Like you're just gonna disagree. It's solidified. I conceded the definition.
Yeah.
We disagree. It's the definition. The definition of necromancy is for one to ask somebody who's departed for hidden knowledge. You said God's face was hidden. Now you're saying you can push the boundaries, but you just affirm necromancy.
And I mean, St. Paul says, like, literally, he defines prophecy as like hidden knowledge.
No, but in the particular example,
Aren't you Pentecostal? Don't you believe in hidden knowledge all the time and prophecies
No,
and telling
but
the future?
Oh, you hit him right in the Pentecostal. Oh,
Right in
man.
the Pentecost. That's funny.
Brutal. And rhetorically devastating from
Well, for you having a Pentecostal background, what is that? Like, how would that hit from Alex? Like, if he was asking you that, how would that hit for you?
Yeah, well, and again, it's not quite the same thing, but JP is really hitting on this hidden knowledge thing, trying to argue that is divination, and saying that, you know, like you shouldn't have hidden knowledge, that's divination. And then, you know, like when he says, well, you're Pentecostal, Paul literally, you believe in prophecy is his point, right? And Paul does say in 1 Corinthians that he mentions prophecy, and he says, and he uses the word mystery, right? Like if somebody prophesies and he's the best prophet and he knows all mysteries, but he has not love, then he's nothing, right? That's Paul's point. But so he's, you know, his point to JP is, so when you prophesy, you're getting hidden knowledge. Are you sinning when you're doing that, right? Which, of course, the answer that JP should give is no, right? But for him to actually say, well, you're Pentecostal, you should be all about this. And like, you shouldn't be pretending like you don't care about hidden knowledge or anything, right? From a rhetorical standpoint, like that's brilliant on Alex's end. Like that's just brilliant.
Well, I mean, if
It's not a great argument, but it's brilliant rhetorically.
Yeah, I mean, like, depending on, again, what definition that JP is trying to use, and then how you would define like prophecy or mysteries, these things, it's like, if like the blade can cut both ways depending on how you're defining these particular things.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
No, but here's the deal.
Cuts both ways, JP.
No. This is the difference.
And
the difference is that when there's prophecy, yes, prophecy is hidden knowledge. That is ultimately,
that's a problem for you, isn't it?
Yes. Prophecy is a hidden knowledge.
See, and this is another thing, is JP keeps saying yes to things that he should
He's
not
like,
be
yes.
saying yes to.
Yes, it's a problem for me. It's like, bro, you're digging your hole.
Don't say that. Even if it's true, you don't say that out loud.
Yes, it is.
But listen to my question. Prophecy is hidden knowledge that somebody does through the power of the Holy Spirit, and it's revealed by God, or whatever the case may be. But when it comes to the hidden face of God and inquiring a saint in heaven to tell you how God looks like, that is necromancy. The prophecy example doesn't work because it's not invoking any particular saint for information.
In 1 Corinthians 13, verse 2, St. Paul says, if I have the gift of prophecy and know all mysteries, and all knowledge. So he defines prophecy as mystery and knowledge. Okay. And then later he says, can I finish my answer, please? No, I'm going to stand.
See, and I actually think like this says something about Alex. He's clearly a good lawyer. Like he's not just like an average lawyer. Like he has taken full control of the cross-examination at this point. And now he is actually having JP defend his Pentecostalism at this point, which is not what the debate is about. But so JP now, he's actually defending himself because he feels threatened, which is like Alex is exactly where he wants to be at this point.
Well, I mean, again, going back to depending on how JP kept on pushing a particular point in a particular definition, then Alex is kind of taking that definition and saying, okay, let's hold you to that and apply it to your beliefs. And like you mentioned earlier, the blade cuts both ways. Are you going to stay consistent to the definition you're trying to push me on? Because if you are, well, then this blade can come back and get you too, because you're, yeah, according to these verses and according to your beliefs, these things, yeah, that's you're either going to have to be consistent, which he said, hey, he even admitted, he says, yes, like he kept on saying yes to, what did he say? It was like yes to conceding essentially that this is a problem for him. And so
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah. Alex said, "Isn't this a problem for you?" And he literally said, "Yes, it's a problem for me." But you can tell, like, he's trying to think of what he's going to say to him.
Sure.
And so he's repeating the words. Unfortunately, it was the worst words he could have repeated.
Yeah.
On this one, because you talked over me and like didn't really, you ate up a bunch of time on my stuff.
I have a question.
So now we got to hurry up. Okay. So and later he says that I desire for you all to prophesy. So I mean that like literally is the exact opposite of what you're saying right now.
No, because when you prophesy, you're not invoking a saint in heaven. The definition of necromancy, if you look it up, is seeking information from somebody who's departed. And you just said
I do want to be sure that you're just asking.
Is there a question on the table?
Yes, the question at the table is this. So you don't see a difference between invocation of saints and prophecy?
The point you were making was about seeking hidden knowledge, right? St. Paul is saying that he wants everybody to know all mysteries and all knowledge. There's nothing wrong with that. You can long to see the face of God.
Okay,
you're not going to.
Okay, another question. Is that regarding the saints of heaven or regarding the saints on this earth?
All of them. You can long to see the face of God. Of course, you're not going to. That's fine. Okay,
but
there's nothing wrong with that.
Do you not see a difference when longing to see the face of God and inquiring a saint to give you that hidden knowledge? Do you not see a difference?
No. So what is the difference? Spell it out for me, please.
Once again, great comment from Amber. JP needs some of that prophetic hidden knowledge to get his foot out of his mouth.
I want to sufficiently answer your question.
Yes. The difference is that I long to see God. I have that desire to see God. But the difference is that I'm not inquiring a saint in heaven to give me that hidden knowledge. Do you see the difference?
This whole thing is falsely premised because the saints are not dead. Necromancy is bringing back someone dead, and it's premised on black magic, which premises that they are dead.
Does Paul say they're dead?
Well, we believe in the first resurrection. So he uses dead colloquially, but we would say that they're alive.
He uses it as a matter of fact. So when we go, this debate's pretty much over because you affirm necromancy. Now I'm going to ask you another question.
You don't know what necromancy is.
Yes. So I'm going to ask you a question.
Also, they're not dead, JP. Jesus says this in John's gospel. So do you believe this? Do you believe this? That's what Jesus says.
So you don't have any apostolic.
You don't believe it?
Wait, so you don't have any apostolic fathers or anti-Nicene church
Saint
fathers?
Hippolytus, the Perpetua, Saint Perpetua, the Passion of Saint Perpetua.
What's the quote?
When he's talking about the three youths, which I showed on the screen in my opening, which everybody saw. It says, I entreat you. Entreat is a request.
Is that all you have?
You have Enoch 105, Enoch 9. You have the Passion of Saint Perpetua.
I said
these are all anti-Nicene. They're all before Nicaea, JP.
All you have quoted is a text out of context. You have not given me any.
That's an assertion. Where's the question? James, is there a question on the table?
Here's my question. Okay, here's my question. Do you have any anti-Nicene or apostolic father other than this out of context quote that you've been using?
Saint Hippolytus is not out of context. You have Saint Perpetua. You have, again, like I said, all these things in archaeology that are showing that this is
Saint Perpetua.
What about Saint Perpetua?
He said what?
Saint Perpetua is a lady, first of all. Yes. Second of all,
yes, she said what?
She said she had a vision that she was departed, that she entered the afterlife. You would have paid attention to my opening. You would have known this. But she went to the afterlife, and then in the afterlife, in paradise. In the vision, she was in paradise. The bishop from the material realm is praying to her. And nowhere in the text is this said like rebuked or said that it's bad. In fact, it's treated positively. Look it up on ChatGPT real quick. Go ahead.
No. So what I'm trying to ask you is, so
where you got your
said
slides
that-
from,
so,
too.
so wait, so you're saying that somebody was praying to Saint Perpetua
Yes.
when she was in heaven?
In the vision, yes.
In the vision. So are you
That's
saying
what
that
it
every
says.
time-
You can read it for
so are you
yourself. It's on
saying
New
that every
Advent.
time? So are you saying that every time you pray to a saint in heaven, you're in a state of a vision?
Perpetua is in the state of the vision, not the bishop.
Okay, but you see that there are extreme circumstances happening here. So my question at hand is going to be, again, do you have an apostolic father or ante-Nicene father that teaches it?
Also, it can't be a woman. It has to be a father.
Yes. Do you have a father or an apostolic?
So it can't be Saint Perpetua.
You do have
I
to-
get it. She ruins your case. That's why.
I would have to look at that quote, but it seems like you don't have any.
I have Saint Hippolytus of Rome. I have the
Out of
Passion of Saints Perpetua and Felicity. It's one document. I have multiple liturgical documents from different areas of.
So I think what JP is going for is that the apostolic fathers have a lot of authority
Mhm.
in when it comes to especially like liturgical traditions like the Catholic tradition and the Orthodox tradition. So I
Mhm.
think he's going for like, I want like somebody with a lot of authority, but I also think JP is not an Orthodox Christian. And so I don't think he fully realizes that Saint Perpetua being a saint has a lot of authority, even if she's not an apostolic father. But I think that's where JP is going with this.
Well, on that too, as I don't know if Alex is about to bring it up or if it was brought up earlier, because I know that we're just doing the cross-examination. But Alex brought up at one point about the liturgies, and so the liturgies are literally communicating the Orthodox, like are teaching the theology, and the earliest liturgies that are available do bring up like intercession. So and Alex brought up about how, well, the liturgies are during the worship, so it would have been affirmed by the bishops and presbytery, like by the congregation, because it's part of their worship. So the liturgies are communicating the theology. And
Right. Well,
then,
and that's another thing. I'll just bring up one of Amber's comments just to bring some attention to Amber. So we had a conversation a couple months ago about canon, and she informed me, and I don't think a lot of Protestants actually understand this, but in the Orthodox Church, the liturgy is canonical and holds authority. And I don't think JP knows that. Like, I think he's just thinking of it like, well, I disagree with how the Lutherans do church. And so, like, the way they do church has no authority on me as a Pentecostal because we're allowed to do things differently. But in the Orthodox Church, the liturgy is authoritative. Like, they view it as part of their canon.
well,
This is another good point. The liturgies are literally written by the church fathers.
like the earliest one is the
And she's
liturgy of
put that in
St.
all
James.
caps because she's yelling at us. But
Yeah, if I remember, the earliest liturgy, I believe is by St. James, and then I think the other earliest liturgy is by St. Mark. I'm fairly certain I'm correct on that. And so those are the earliest liturgies.
first time for everything, Amber.
Yeah, get a gold star. But there's also the argument from silence, because the thing is the early church. St. Mark's is older. I thought okay. For some reason, I thought the other one was earlier. The argument from silence, the early church a lot of times was writing against heresies. There's literally against heresies in some of the, there's certain writings, addressing issues, sometimes writing like positive things about what the church is doing to encourage them in the faith. But most of the time, it is true, and I've heard it from several people before too, that the church often aren't going to write about things that, because parchment was expensive, and trying to write this all down, that they're not going to address something that wasn't controversial, like, so, and I think if I remember right, at the end of the conversation when they're getting questions in, somebody brings this up, and I thought I started laughing because I thought it was funny. It's like, hey, if I was to text you, Chris, if I was like, hey, let's meet up, let's get coffee. Well, if I'm texting you this, I would not have to preface that, hey, I need to put on clothes before I meet you. Like, it's expected that I show up in clothing, because it's expected. It's not controversial that we go into public with clothing on. So I wouldn't have to like preface that I'm doing that, because it's expected of me to do that. And so when there's something expected or natural or whatever, then you're not going to argue for something that was already non-controversial. And so, with for the sake of the argument, this is how writing. Let's see. They didn't write down the obvious, right? They wrote down the record of the weird stuff. Yep. So that's been my observation from the readings of the early church. Is they're addressing issues. Yeah. It's called So that's what either encouraging people in the faith, addressing issues. That's a lot of times the two paths I typically see is these two things. And so they're not bringing up, even like the what we see, like the Trinity was believed, but until later were people like hashing out and trying to clearly articulate it, like the way it later is articulated, in order to defeat heresy, or the different councils. So they're trying to hash out stuff to help crush heresies and define stuff, because certain things were naturally expected and believed, and then until later doesn't mean that all of a sudden like the belief that council is an innovation. It's like they're like, well, this is what we believe, and people are bringing in heresy, so we have to hash this out and articulate it so we can crush this and keep moving forward. And so that's what I'm seeing in this debate, is like, sure, you might not have a ton of early apostolic, church fathers hashing out and writing all this stuff, but I get the argument. You just wouldn't expect to see that if all the evidence that Alex has presented, which I think he made a good case listening to the debate, if all you see it, all this evidence built up, and like JP's saying, well, we just don't give me a bunch of fathers. Well, if it's Jewish practices that we see, and we even see that when we were hashing through those couple Old Testament passages and all the evidence, it's like, well, if this is what was believed, then why would they need to hash this out? Like, I get the point. It's not that, to me, it's not that complicated of an argument to say, well, we don't need a ton of writing by a bunch of people hashing it out. If the preponderance of evidence is in support, especially with Alex being a lawyer, like if you were to present in court and say, we have this, we have this, we have this, we have that, like how much more evidence do you need in order to say, and then you're like, well, we have this missing. Okay, but again, is anybody speaking against it? Like, well, then the majority, like, I don't know. I'm belaboring the point. I'm kind of
I definitely see that argument as a fairly valid argument. Like JP could say, like he could make an argument that, well, what about the homilies, right? Like we have all of this information about St. Augustine, and we have a bunch of his homilies, and so he could say, well, pastors preach about stuff that people know about all the time, right? Like lots of pastors, they'll preach their content from their new believers class in their sermons. So like you could make an argument from that, but the problem with that would be, and I think Father Stephen DeYoung, he points this out, that we don't have like 90% of what the fathers wrote, right? Because of a lot of it has been lost to time. We have a lot of what, like when we consider that this was almost 2,000 years ago, if you're in the pre-Nicene era, we have a lot of what they wrote compared to other historical figures. But it's not like today, right? Like today, you can go on YouTube and you can find almost every sermon I've ever preached because of everything is transcribed now, right? Whereas in the ancient world, though, most of their homilies probably weren't written down, because why would you write them down? Right? Because it's so expensive to do that in the ancient world. And so you can't really have the same expectations for reporting what people preached and did 2,000 years ago, because now everything is transcribed, and you can even get my, like you can not only listen to my thoughts on theology on every church's website I've ever preached at, but you can also go on Twitter and you can get my sarcastic comments and see me at my worst on X, right? So like, but it wasn't like that back then. Like this is completely different to what the ancient world was like.
Right, and we're even missing some letters from the apostles. Like there's references to letters that they wrote, but we don't have some of those missing letters.
Oh, and this is another good point too. We haven't even translated everything. Right? So like we have a lot of their writings that hasn't even been translated yet. And so anyways, that's a good point, Amber. Let's move on.
Fathers.
Oh my God,
Do you have fathers?
Saint Hippolytus.
That's the only person you're mentioning. You can't make a whole doctrine off of one father.
Never mind, Steve.
So again, I'll ask you.
It's not just based off of one father. It's based off of liturgics. It's based off of Saint Perpetua. It's based off of Second Temple rule. I'm answering it right now. Okay,
so answer my question. Can you
open up your mind for 1 minute?
Well, to be fair, JP, you made a point. So he's, it wasn't a question. You made a point, and now Alex is trying to respond to that. So I do have to give you a friendly reminder to try to stick to just questions.
Okay. The only person that you're mentioning is Saint Hippolytus. I'm asking you for an additional ante-Nicene or apostolic father. You keep going to encryption. So do you have anybody else?
I'm not talking about codes. I'm not talking about any encryptions.
Okay, do you
liturgical documents are not inscriptions. Liturgical documents are how Christians worship, okay? So, yes, because these were documents that they used in worship in the liturgy in Egypt, all of the apostolic fathers in Egypt in the 200s would have been using those documents.
Can you quote one?
They are using these documents, dude. I showed you the Oxyrhynchus.
Trust me, bro. This is a lot of trust me, bro.
It's not trust me, bro. It's a liturgical document. They found it in a church, JP.
Let's go on the record. Let's go on the record. So far, what you've given me is Saint Hippolytus out of context and Perpetua.
Wrong.
And you have not given me any.
Wrong.
Okay. So I'm going to ask you again. Do you have any apostolic father or ante-Nicene father? Again, anybody else?
Yes. I have Saint Hippolytus.
We already went over that. Can you give me another?
All of the fathers that were worshiping in churches in Egypt in the 200s.
We have documentation of them saying you can pray to saints.
Saint Athanasius, Saint Alexander of Alexandria. It's implied. Look, this is not a lot of thinking to be. They sang the song in the church. These guys went to church.
Okay, can you quote it? The quotes?
Yes. Here, give me 1 moment. I'll pull it up.
Okay, go ahead.
I'll give you a chance, Alex. We're running out of time here. We've got about 20 seconds left. If you want to give that quote,
honestly,
Alex.
because this is not going well for JP at all.
What do you mean? It's going excellent. You only gave me 2 fathers. You gave me
Beneath your compassion we take refuge, Theotokos. Our petitions do not despise in time of trouble, but from dangers ransom us, O holy only blessed. This is what they were praying in the churches in Egypt in the 200s.
I want a father. What? Give me a
I
father.
gave you one. You didn't
You
like
gave
it.
me one, brother. This is the brother. Let me remind you.
I do. This is
The
all right. Hold
title-
on. This is where we normally jump into queue with the open dialogue. So this is your chance, JP. One quick. So hold that thought, JP. We'll let you start the open dialogue with that, and that's just going to be.
Okay. How much time you got, Drew? Do you want to do the open dialogue or do you want to end it here?
How long is the open dialogue? I don't even remember.
I can't remember. I think it's like 15 minutes.
Is that all it is?
Where
If
they
it's
go back and
15,
forth.
if it's 15, I think I can
Put a one
Not
in
gonna
the
stick
chat
through all
if you guys want us to go through the open dialogue, or if we want to do our assessment now. Put a one in the chat if you want to continue.
1 or 2. But yeah, no, I mean, I encourage, if people haven't watched the debate, I think it was good. I think it's a good debate. I think we both, you should have started with, Amber says 1. We should have started with the open dialogue.
Amber's votes count as 2, so
Oh,
they're
okay.
already outnumbered. Yeah.
Oh,
all right. Well, let's keep going. Let's do the open
2?
dialogue.
Oh.
Oh, irate puts down 2. All right.
Oh, man.
All right. Oh, and by the way, irate, Steve is your online pastor, so he will explain all of the deep theology of this debate to you later.
Just do it. He's okay. Let's just go for it. It's fine. All right.
Just do it. All right, let's do it.
Free flowing, although I, of course, need you guys to not interrupt each other during that. If you folks are looking at the bottom right of your screen, if you are near Los Angeles, Las Vegas, or Phoenix, anywhere in the Southwest, dialogue.
The title of this debate is
20 minutes.
Yeah, so the title of this debate is the intercession of the saints, or the invocation of the saints of apostolic and ante-Nicene, was it clearly
reiterating that?
Yeah, was it clearly established? Yes. And so you gave me a woman and an out of context Hippolytus. And I'm asking you again, do you have any other father?
You gave me a woman.
Because
you don't just look at fathers, dude. If you want to look at what they did in churches, you're going to go look at the liturgical documents in the churches.
Wait, so you don't have any, is what it sounds like.
I gave you one, you didn't like it.
No, what do you mean you gave me one you didn't like it? You have to give me
I gave you St. Hippolytus. You didn't like it. How many fathers do I have to give you, JP?
The title of the debate.
How many fathers do I have to give you?
The title of the debate is...
I know what the title of the debate is. Why are you talking about irrelevant crap?
That it's an established practice.
Look, where's your Bible? Where's your Bible in the first century?
Okay, you have not shown that this was an established practice. Okay,
you have to prove that. So this is what a debate is for. I get this is why you didn't want it back and forth. I get it.
The consensus of the ante-Nicene and apostolic fathers.
I showed you it was so uncontroversial that
context pieces of information.
It was so uncontroversial. Everybody was doing it. You see it. You see it in Judea, Egypt, Carthage, Italy, Germany, Ethiopia. You see it all over the.
All you have is Saint Hippolytus and Perpetua. That's it. Saint Hippolytus and Perpetua. That's all you have for 3 centuries.
Hey, you have to open your ears and listen. Okay, so I have a bunch of I have at least 2 liturgical documents.
Okay, one sec. I want to just quick jump in to just do a friendly breakup. Hold on one sec, just to pull you guys apart. Okay.
I love this. This is the equivalent of dad like doing that, separating, go to your bedrooms and then come back and talk when you're in a better attitude. Like I just think that's great.
Ready? Just so everybody can hear you.
JP, show me one father that has your canon.
This is not a conversation on the canon.
It's a conversation about standards and burdens of proof. Okay, look, I get you want to extend your cross-examination. I also get to ask questions in an open dialogue.
I do want to just JP. Let's just humor him. Let's give him a chance to ask this question. Take it a little bit, and then I promise we'll do the same thing where he'll give you.
It's relevant to standards of proof. Okay, name one father that has your canon.
One father that has my canon in the first 3 centuries.
Yeah,
I can honestly say that they did not. Now,
Okay,
can you
so
honestly-
why are you imposing this
my
on me?
turn, my turn. 1 for 1. Now my turn.
I never
Can
agreed to
you-
1-to-1.
Okay,
Why are
now
you imposing
wait,
that on
So
me?
you're going to cross-examine me, but I can't ask you a question.
Why are you
So
imposing that
so
on
no,
me?
so wait,
Okay,
so
hold on one sec. All right, gentlemen, or we'd have to have some give and take here. So,
I have to be able to ask a follow-up. Come on.
what we'll do
That was
is
the point of
we'll give
permitting
you,
the question
we'll
in the
give
first
you
place.
each one follow-up. So, JP, it is reasonable that if you guys want to do a quick, I've got one good question that's going to kind of move me into position to spike the ball over the net. Go ahead. Alex will give you a second question to ask.
Yeah,
Yeah.
go ahead.
So
Give me a second
So
question.
you said that there is no church father has your canon in the first 3 centuries. Why are you imposing this standard on me when you don't adhere to it yourself?
Because I never said that the early church had the canon in the first 3 centuries, but you believe that this doctrine was apostolic, salvific, and normative by the apostles passed down to the fathers. And so if that's the case, you're going to either have to say no like I did, or you're going to have to say yes and substantiate it. Now, Alex.
Yeah, but you're limiting it to only church fathers. Why does it have to be only church fathers?
Because the church fathers were the main guys. You wouldn't agree the church fathers?
You realize that the liturgies are also authoritative?
Okay, but Alex, here's my question to you, though. Can you show
but the
me that
liturgies are
writing?
also authoritative,
Yeah,
JP.
But Alex, hold on. Can you show me that writing of somebody praying to Perpetua? Can you pull it up? I just want to verify.
Sure.
And go ahead.
You have any thoughts so far, Drew?
Like we mentioned too, that their understanding, the liturgies were sharing their theology, so they wouldn't be contrary to the theology. It's a living expression of the theology, so it would be expected, if it is a part of the liturgy, that if the early church fathers are participating in the liturgies, well, then they would be participating, like we talked about earlier too, the argument from silence. Well, if they're participating in the liturgies, which are expressing their beliefs, and the earliest liturgies we do have do express and clearly and uncontroversially express the belief of intercession of the saints, then you would by proxy expect that is something that the early church fathers are participating in. So therefore, there would be at least them practicing that in the early church, regardless of if they are writing about it, like we already discussed. So I do think that, I think the liturgies are a good point. I think JP is, like Alex had brought up, I think JP is trying to hold Alex by a standard he himself isn't holding himself to be like, well, hey, you only got these couple, which again, the amount of evidence that Alex brings and the few individuals that he mentions, and JP's like, well, and JP seems to only be going to those couple individuals and saying, well, that's not enough. And it's like, but he doesn't seem to be taking the cumulative argument. He's just like, those 2 individuals. And it's like, but that's not the whole argument. Like you're honing into these 2, but with the Alex's argument about the canon, if his standard is you only have these 2, you don't have enough, well, to hold to this, well, then it kind of does undercut JP's himself to the same standard, and therefore it would kind of just make his position fall, where it's like, okay, well, if there's no canon articulated the way JP holds to within the first 3 centuries, well, then you don't have, holding him by the same standard, then you don't have canon. So it does seem like a weird line that JP keeps on drawing and trying to box Alex in that he's himself isn't holding himself to.
Yeah, and I think another thing too is this debate, like the subject is the intercession of the saints biblical? That's not actually the debate. The debate is the intercession of the saints pre-Nicene. So does it pop up in the first 3 centuries before the Council of Nicaea?
Well, even prior to that, because Alex said, anything that was prior to Nicaea. So that
anything within history, really. Like he could go deep into the Bronze Age if he thought he could find something.
Right.
But he doesn't have to prove from the Bible if he doesn't want to. Although he did use a couple fairly strong examples. I don't think he proved it in my estimation, but he did make a, like, again, not a super solid argument, but I would say a decent argument that it's possible that it may be in at least in the book of Job. It is possible that it's in the book of Job, but yeah.
Where the deacon was praying to
is a bishop.
The bishop, yes. And I'm looking it up as well. So,
all right, we're gonna fast forward this a bit.
Appreciate us came in from D. No problem. Also, folks, in the debate.
So here, section 2.
Mm-hmm.
She's having a vision of what the afterlife will be like after her martyrdom. She's having a vision of the future that is granted through God's grace. So we came near to the place, the walls of which were such as if they were built of light. And before the gate stood was 4 angels. Okay. She goes on to say, and then we went forth and we saw before the entrance Optatus, the bishop, at the right hand, and Aspasia, the presbyter, a teacher, at the left hand, separate and sad. And they cast themselves at our feet and said to us, restore peace between us, because you have gone forth and left us thus. And need I remind you that this is not just my interpretation. There are also experts that I can pull up that agree with my interpretation as well, people that actually study this for a living.
Yeah, let me read this. And we went forth and saw before the entrance of Optatus, the bishop, at the right hand, Ephesus, and the presbyter, teacher, the left hand separate. And she said, and they cast themselves at our feet and said to us, restore peace between us, because you have gone forth and have left us thus. And we said to them, are you not our father and our presbyter? Yeah, I would have to look at this a little bit further to examine it.
All right. Well, I respect that.
Okay, but you could ask me a question now, and then I have another follow-up for you.
Sure. Here. Stop my screen share. What do you think about the Frankfurt silver inscription, the amulet that invokes Saint Titus, the guy in Germany?
Yeah, I would say that regarding encryptions, I don't make doctrines out of encryptions. So the authority,
man, like every single time he gets the word wrong, that's oh man, that's,
I know.
It's painful, man. It's painful.
Yeah.
that I go by is church fathers.
Let's
not
go back to liturgies. In my worldview, liturgies and the hymnals, they're not like infallible or anything, but they do hold weight authoritatively. I showed you 2 hymns, the Subtuum Presidium and the Oxyrhynchus, the Oxyrhynchus papyrus, which the Oxyrhynchus papyrus invokes angels in the same way that we do today in the Orthodox liturgy. It's in the 200s AD.
Okay. And who
the
wrote
Subtuum Presidium also is. It's a church document. It's a liturgical church document. They use it in worship. So for me, that is an authoritative document. It's just as good as having an individual saint.
And what's your question?
So why don't you consider all those things? Why does it have to be only fathers? It seems like an arbitrary standard to me.
No, it's not an arbitrary standard. Fathers were the ones pulling the weight, teaching doctrines, and they were the authority. And so if you don't have any fathers teaching this doctrine, you have St. Hippolytus, you have a vision of Perpetua, but you
have to believe the stuff that they sing in the liturgy.
Yeah, but the problem is that if I don't see...
You can't participate in worship if you don't believe the stuff that they're singing in the hymn.
If they participated in liturgies that had prayers to saints in heaven, if they participated, it would be a reasonable expectation to see the fathers teaching this, and they don't.
Why?
What do you mean, why, brother?
They talked about problems. Alexander of Alexandria would never have written about Arianism if it wasn't a problem.
So can we concede that the early church fathers did not teach this? Are you
No, they
willing to say
did. They taught it through the
Okay.
liturgy. They taught it through.
If
You
they
see Saint
taught
Hippolytus
it-
doing it.
Okay, so if they taught it, what other church father other than Saint Hippolytus do you have that taught this?
Okay, so again, we're going in circles. Like, they all agreed to the liturgy. The liturgy it's a collective effort of many bishops, many fathers over many years. That's how.
You look like you have something to say, Drew.
I'm just they're kind of rehashing some of the same stuff and just kind of just that they Alex says like they're relaboring the point of JP saying, oh, there's now all the church fathers. Alex repeating again, it's in the liturgy. It's this repetitive.
Yeah, we've gone on this circle about 3 or 4 times already. Yeah,
Right.
where they repeat the same questions to each other.
Because I just don't think is the Alex didn't hold to JP's necromancy definition. Alex is not, it's like they're just not agreeing on these certain premises. It's just like,
well, they don't even agree if the saints are dead or alive.
Right. Well,
Right?
JP
Like
said
they have,
in some
they
fashion.
have, there's way too many terms that they do not agree on what the words even mean. And so it's so easy to talk past each other at this point.
Well, then, like I said, they're just circling the arguments again. Hamster wheel, yeah. I just don't think you're gonna, just as us listening to the debate and anybody that has seen it, of course they don't agree because they just don't even agree on certain definitions, and they're talking past each other. They're repeating the arguments. That's just the nature of it when you don't solidify and come up with an agreed upon definition.
It gets there. Okay, that's how it gets there in the first place. You have to understand the history of the liturgy in order to understand like what the church believed, because as they worship, that's how they believe. It's the same thing in the Orthodox Church today, right? You have to believe the services of the church. You can't not believe them. So when you have the Oxyrhynchus Papyrus invoking the angels, I have an expert analysis saying that not only do they just invoke them, it's like sending a legal summons over there. Like they have to appear at the liturgy. When you have the Sub Tuum Presidium, that is also like very overt language to the Theotokos, to the Mother of God, saying, please do not deny our petitions, right? They all believe this because they all worshipped in these services together. This is not a controversial thing. That's why they're not talking about it.
Yeah, and so here's the deal, right? When you have things in the beginning, mid, or end to 3rd century, right? You would have to prove that that was something that they were practicing in the 1st and 2nd century. And so what I'm telling you, Alex, is that if there's none of these church fathers that believe this and no apostle that believed this or taught this, and you're not really showing me that, right? You're just telling me
that's why I
that,
showed you in the Bible, and that's why I showed
before
you.
we get to the Bible, you've given me
You can't separate these things.
No, you've given me but look, you've given me
the Bible has pride of place in the Orthodox Church.
You've given me your interpretation of the Bible, but the reality is that
if you can offer a competing interpretation.
But let me finish. The reality is that for the 1st and 2nd century, and even the 3rd century,
I sense an assertion coming.
We don't have any fathers that were teaching this doctrine, and that's a problem.
Saint Hippolytus is 3rd century.
That's the one father, and that's a debated quote.
So that's not what you. Okay, debate it. How is it not invoking them?
We already agreed that you're saying that one section is a prayer, and you're saying another section is not a prayer.
I had a reason for that. You remember what it was?
Yes, you gave your reason. You said entreating and
yes, it's prayer language. Do you see entreat for Nebuchadnezzar?
Okay, but the issue at hand is that
that's why it's different. That's why I treat it differently.
He's addressing them. But the issue at hand is that if you continue to read what Saint Hippolytus said, he's asking for hidden knowledge. And that now affirms necromancy, which you didn't know what it means.
You're saying Saint Hippolytus is a necromancer? Is that what you're telling me?
I'm saying that if you're going to take that as a literal...
He's called Alex a necromancer like 10 times.
Something that people oftentimes, I think, disconnect is that like Alex has provided some Jewish sources and early Old Testament material and things. something that people disconnect is they view Christianity as a distinctly different thing than Judaism. Well, the thing is sure, modern Judaism, yes, but Judaism, the Christianity is a literal continuation, a proper continuation of Old Testament Judaism, because it is just in Christ, is a fulfillment is the Messiah. He's the long way to Messiah. So it's a continuation, is a fulfillment, and it's just Christianity is the term that's being used, but it is a continuation of it's a fulfillment of these things are tied together. It's one story. It's not like these two different stories and saying here is the God of the Old Testament, here's God of the New. It's one story. The Old Testament is not divided there. It's connected, one story. Do know. Oh. So the thing is it's a continuation. So therefore, yeah, when there's a deviation of Jews that did not believe in Christ, and then they eventually write the Talmud and all these things. But the thing is so the beliefs in the Old Testament period and Jewish writing during the testimonial, or I'm probably pronouncing that incorrectly, the intertestament period, whatever, that time would be the beliefs of the Jews before Christ. And so it's a continuation of those things. So you would, if that is the beliefs of the time, then you would expect it to be something that would continue, to continue to the argument to say, okay, well, then it wouldn't be disconnected from the Christians' views if this was a continuation of Judaism in light of Christ. Christ is a fulfillment. So it's I get the point is these are not disconnected religions, because it's one religion, and then eventually those who didn't believe continue in there and they split off and form their own thing. That's not true Judaism, because true Jews would have been believing in Christ. That's even the argument. It's in the New Testament. It's if there's a lump of clay, and it's one splits off, in Romans 9. There's the thing is that there's ones who are considered Israel and ones that are not, because those who don't believe are broken off. They're no longer a part of the remnant. They're no longer the continuation of this. So it's just interesting to me when people try to disconnect these things and say oh, this is what Old Testament Jews believed. Yeah, and that's a lot of these things would have been a continuation into the New Testament and what the early believers, early Jews would have been believing as well. So it's just an interesting point to think about.
Yeah. So one thing that I often end up doing in a lot of my preaching is, especially if I'm going through one of the epistles, I will remind my congregation, and sometimes I'll jokingly say, because we live stream our services, and so I'll say, if you're listening to me while you're doing chores or whatever, I'll tell them, I want you to sit down, because this might shock you, but Jesus and Paul were Jews. They were actually Jewish, and I'm and I know it's a shock, but Paul, when he, especially Romans, Paul is writing like a Second Temple Jew, and he's doing theology like a Second Temple Jew. And don't even get me started on the book of Jude, who's literally quoting Second Temple literature that is not in your Bible. He's quoting the ascension of Moses, right? And everybody's like, well, when did the archangel Michael fight with the devil over the body of Moses? Well, you're not a second temple Jew, so you have no idea what he's quoting, right? And he also quotes First Enoch, and especially we Protestants, we don't really know what to do with that, because it's wow, what do we do with that?
Right.
Especially since Jude is quoting Enoch as if it's authoritative, and so that's a problem. But these things are important. The authors did not think like modern day North American Christians, right? They're very Jewish, in their thinking. They're very Jewish in their theology even. And I really think one of the reasons why a lot of Christians have bad theology is we're kind of afraid of the Old Testament, and we don't read the Old Testament. And so we stick with the Gospels and the epistles, and if you're feeling really brave, like, you'll go into Revelation, and you'll completely misunderstand Revelation, because Revelation is alluding to the Old Testament in every single chapter, right? And so but yeah, like, so the problem that I was presented with this, with this debate was that if Alex is right about most of the things he's talking about in Second Temple Judaism, like, if the Second Temple Jews, if they were praying to the saints, I'm gonna have to wrestle with that as a Protestant, and I'm gonna have to think about what does that mean? Because that's kind of a serious thing, because then it would be pre-Nicene if that's true.
Right.
And, like, we're gonna have to deal with this, and we're gonna have to wrestle with this, and which we have been doing for a long time, and we're gonna have to continue working out both our theology and our salvation with fear and trembling. At least that's the take I have.
Prayer, and it's not, because I believe that's allegorical language. It's not necromancy, because
You realize that's like a huge meme that, like, everything you don't like is allegorical.
It's not. Well, if you continue to read in context, when he says entreat me, or he says I entreat you.
I would love, Amber, to have you on, and we need to talk about Enoch and how that's not a problem, because that's a conversation. Yeah, that's definitely a conversation that needs to be had.
And then he says, show me how God's face looks like. That is necromancy. And so let me finish my point, and then I'm going to ask you a question.
Go ahead, land it.
All you have is Saint Hippolytus, which is highly debated.
That's not true.
Okay, well, if you have more, then tell me who these first,
the liturgies. It's not just church fathers that are authoritative. So they are authoritative.
So do you grant that the church fathers did not teach this? At least in writing.
I know they taught it because it's in the liturgy.
Okay, can you grant that they didn't write about intercession of the saints?
No, because it was not controversial. That's what I've been saying this whole time.
What do you mean it's not controversial? Praying to God.
Everybody was doing
Praying to God is not controversial, and everybody prayed to God, and they wrote about that.
Well, the same way Origin. Well, okay, hold on. This is why it was important when I brought up, what do you mean when you say pray? Because you have to understand that, I don't know if you looked into this or anything, but in the Hebrew and in the Greek, they have different terms for ask, politely ask, demand, and pray.
Okay.
So in English, there's a big difference here, because in English, the word pray covers all those things. We have one blanket term for all of those. In Greek and Hebrew, they have different terms. So if we're working with a translation, like when you look at Origin, you're going to see something like thanksgiving, because they're trying to be more accurate to what they're saying. So there are different levels, different kinds of prayers. We believe that in the Orthodox Church.
Yeah, and the point still stands that what we have is early church fathers who, although not controversial, they wrote prayers about God. They talked about praying to God, invoking God.
And as a historical witness, you have Origen, who's talking about Peter and Paul.
No, he's not talking about Peter, Paul in the sense that he would invoke them for prayer. He's using an example, even if Peter and Paul. Just how I mentioned in the passage in Jeremiah, where in Jeremiah he says, and even if Moses and Samuel were to stand before me, right? Even if it's a hypothetical, it's not literal. So again,
yes. And what if you meet someone that's like a Paul or a Peter?
What do you mean if you meet somebody that's a Paul?
So what if the hypothetical is fulfilled?
If the hypothetical is fulfilled per the context of Origen was not invoking people that were unalive. If you read the full letter, Origen was addressing people that were on this earth, like the homeless, the law.
He says, supplication should be offered to saints alone. Should there be found a Paul or a Peter who may benefit us and make us worthy to attain authority for the forgiveness of sins? Doesn't it sound like he is offering supplication to Paul and Peter?
No, because if you read the full context of the letter, when you read the full context of the letter, he does that to people that are on this realm.
JP.
So you would need to show me an example, Alex, per that letter, of him doing it to somebody who's not on this realm, somebody in heaven.
JP.
He uses Peter and Paul as an example, but he doesn't do it to them.
He says, if we should find another Peter or Paul, we should do supplication to them too. That's what he's saying.
Yes, if he says
that implies that at this time he's doing supplication to Peter and Paul.
Another Peter or Paul, in the sense that if there's somebody in this world that is like Peter and Paul, you offer them supplication. But if you read the full letter, he offers that to the homeless. He offers that to everybody on this realm, not in heaven. So that's what he's saying. He's not saying.
No, I think that's allegorical.
All right. So if you believe that's allegorical, then that's fine. But
yeah, well, I'm saying that sarcastically to expose your inconsistency, right? Because it's like, look, if it's allegorical, then it's allegorical. If it's real, then it's real.
No, but I'm giving you the context of him actually doing it to a homeless person. If you read the full letter, so so
he's saying he does it to Peter and Paul. Why is that one allegorical?
Because when he does it, he's doing it to the people on earth, and he's saying if you find somebody like Peter and Paul, you can do that to them on this earth. Because when you read the rest of the letter, he's doing it to homeless people. He's doing it to people that are okay.
But that doesn't mean that he's not doing it to St. Peter and Paul.
Well, you would have to show me in the letter of him, and I'm a fair man, of him doing it to anybody that's not in this realm, and he doesn't do that.
Where he says Paul or Peter, that's where he does it.
Okay,
it's right in front of your face.
Okay, so again. He's saying if you were to find somebody like Peter and Paul, you give them thanksgiving, and then you read the rest of the letter, and the context is people on this earth. Brother, people are going to
does he give thanksgiving to Peter and Paul?
No.
Then how can he say if you find somebody like St. Peter and Paul, give them thanks also?
You know what it means if you find somebody like? It means that it's not Peter and Paul, it's somebody like them.
I know that. You're not tracking what I'm saying.
Okay, so brother, the context helps me.
Okay, if he's giving somebody the supplications like he gives them to Peter and Paul, that means he's giving them to Peter and Paul.
He never gives it to Peter and Paul, brother. That's what I'm trying to tell you. He's not actively invoking.
I know what you're saying. You're not tracking.
I am tracking, but can you show me? Look, this is where we advance the conversation, and I'm wrong. Can you show me Origen in the letter praying to somebody that has departed in that letter? And he doesn't.
When he says supplications, if you find somebody like Peter and Paul, give them supplications as you do to Peter and Paul.
All right, let me pull it up there. Can you pause the time?
I have a thought. So there's a quote because I'm actually studying this topic a little bit. I'm going to eventually, as you already know, I'm doing a series on like what the early church, pretty much the consensus or universal pre-Nicene beliefs, like the uncontroversial stuff that they held to. But there is a quote, and I hope this is an accurate one. From my understanding, it is. It says something about it is from Origen because they're debating Origen right now. It's an exhortation on martyrdom. It says something about like, I do not doubt that the angels join in prayer for men and that the souls of the saints who have already fallen asleep do the same. So it's like, it's literally, if they're debating about what Origen believes, and if this quote is accurate, then Origen is literally saying that the saints, pray for people, like those. Right. So it's like, well, okay. So despite this disputed one that they're disputing right now, Origen seems to be affirming that. So it's like, regardless, I know that they're debating about that one particular term. It's like, well, it does seem that Origen does seem to hold to this. And
how do you make sense of that, Drew? Because like I'm thinking, like even as a Protestant, I could actually find agreement with the idea that the saints pray for us in heaven. The main issue Protestants have is are they with me now, or can they hear me all the time type of thing. So the previous quote that JP brings up earlier in the debate is he quotes Origen as saying, "We do not pray to anybody but God," or something along that lines. And so when you take that quote with this quote, Drew, how do you make the two of them agree with each other without contradiction?
Well, like we mentioned before, the agreed upon definition was to ask. So it's like, well, we're called to,
and they both agree on that. Yeah.
Right. So
one of the few things they both agree on.
Right.
Yeah.
And at the beginning of our conversation, we talked about I can ask you for things. I could say, "Hey, Chris, can you pray for me?"
Yeah.
So if the premise is, and the agreed upon definition is asking, and and treating on somebody to ask, make a request, then it doesn't. I don't see any contradiction, because it's like, well, we are like, the thing is that the appeals, we're told to intercede on each other's behalves. And then, sure, of course, we can bring our petitions to the Lord, just as I can ask you to bring my petitions to the Lord.
Yeah.
So I don't really see a contradiction. And again, like I know they're debating this particular Origen quote, which we even talked about before too. Origen is his beliefs and holding to some heretical stuff, so he can be.
Yeah. So I'm just going to interrupt you just for a second, Drew, just to kind of fill everybody in, because I know I'll probably have a bunch of people that may not even know who Origen is. So Origen he's considered by some to be a church father, but after he died, he was condemned as a heretic later on. And so the problem with bringing up Origen is he can be really helpful as a historical figure, because we have a lot of his writings, but he's unhelpful because he was a condemned heretic. And then so, well, how much of his writings are you going to put your weight on? And that's kind of that's kind of what's being debated here is well, do you want to quote Origen, or do you want to go with somebody else? Is kind of but that doesn't mean you can't, because he is a historical figure.
Sure.
And he can give you a glimpse into what Christians during his time were thinking, but also he said some problematic things that probably shouldn't be repeated too terribly much.
Right. So it's a early patristic writing. You're like, okay, it helps get ideas, like when you see stuff for or against, as we mentioned previously in our conversation of, if see arguments for, cool, you got evidence that these beliefs are at least in the space being discussed. So whether it is for or against, which is great, because that means, like, regardless, it's like, okay, what is the consensus? Because that's all. That is kind of the argument, is like, just because you have a one-off somewhere doesn't mean that is the consensus, whether that is for or against something. And so, sure, but it being brought up means that the belief is at least present during the time. If something is brought up, you're like, okay, that's evidence that the belief is at least discussed in some capacity, whether everybody holds to it, whether they don't. It's at least it's a good point to say it's present. So.
Yeah. Oops. There we go. All right, we'll give it a few minutes. If they continue to repeat over and over again, we'll shut it down.
Brother, I'm going to pull up the letter and share my screen.
Honestly, I kind of want to move to another topic, because I mean, you can pull it up if you want, but I mean, we're not going to say anything different if you pull it up, because I've been looking at it this whole time. We're going to keep saying the same thing.
All right, so so go ahead. Let's move forward. So my question is, are you willing to say, and listen, if you say that it's fair, that other than Saint Hippolytus in your interpretation and Perpetua, that no other church father in the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd century wrote about praying to a saint in heaven. Are you willing to concede that?
To my knowledge, those would be like the big ones. There might be one out there I don't know about.
So you would say that those are the main two, and you don't know about the rest?
Fathers and saints, fine. In terms of did they write about it, right? I don't know. I think you have the Bible, as I said. I think it's in the Bible. Okay. It's in the liturgies. You have all the fathers were in the liturgies. They were worshiping God with these documents.
Do you want to open up the Bible and go there?
Sure. Let's go to 1 Timothy. 1 Timothy 5. When he solemnly charges Timothy in the presence of God and of Christ Jesus and of his elect angels.
Yeah, so are you saying that it's impossible to charge somebody in the presence of others while not invoking them? Are you saying that you must invoke always in order to charge somebody for something?
Yes, absolutely. Like, duh, of course. If so, but I'm looking at this, it says, I charge you in the presence of God, basically invoking God's presence. I charge you in the presence of Christ Jesus, invoking the presence of Christ Jesus. I charge you in the presence of his elect angels, invoking the angels.
Yeah, so all that this is saying is that God, the angels are watching and he's charging them because they see everything. For example, I just picked up this water in the presence of God. God sees everything. And so I don't see an invocation there where you're saying.
I don't know if you just caught that. And I did not realize JP said that till just now. But he just said that the angels see everything.
Interesting that he's kind of conceding that.
Yeah. So if the angels see everything, you don't even have to pray in the religious sense. Because like if I had an angel in the room with me, I could just turn over to him and just say, hey, can you pray for me? And he'd say, sure, Chris, the way you would. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so like this removes, because like a lot of people, what gets them is the fact that angels aren't omnipresent. Right. And so so that's what bothers a lot of Protestants when it comes to this doctrine, is because they feel like you have to do some sort of a religious action in order to connect with them.
And so to invoke them, essentially.
Right. So for them, that's what makes it worship is it has this religious, almost like a supernatural connection. Right. But JP just said the angels see everything. And so in that sense, a Protestant could participate in this and not have a problem at all.
Well, what we brought up before about the divine council.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are some passages that indicate the awareness of beings, the holy ones, being aware of things on earth. And then there's seems to be scriptural evidence of angelic, like the angelic beings being kind of God giving them authority over particular regions to have like authority, and then those, we see like them abusing that power, and that's why different people view them as like gods, and that's probably where you get like different gods in different religions and different places, because people abusing the angelic beings falling. Send me the link. I'm here. Huh?
You want to bring him up?
Oh, he's wanting to join the conversation.
Yeah, he's here. You want to bring him up?
Well, I thought we were about to like shut it down. I don't know.
We were,
but I mean, he can jump in. I'm fine with that. I'm not trying to block anybody out. Sure.
Yeah, keep talking.
Okay, but I'm just saying that the concept of there being awareness on Earth, depending on how much they're aware of, I don't know. Like we aren't really given privy to like the awareness of how much awareness they have, the angelic beings or holy ones, or but there is scriptural evidence of them having a level of awareness, whatever that God granted them, at least. So, and I know people are like, well, are they omnipresent? Again, like if intercession of the saints is true, then I don't know what kind of authority and power God gives them. Like, you know what I mean? Like it is an argument from silence. We don't know. If it is true, then there's not really a great way. It's just one of those things that we don't have information about.
Sure.
Hey, brothers. God bless you guys.
The man, the myth, the legend. How you doing?
Hey, man. I wish I could have been here earlier, but I was driving all day. So I'm going to watch the rest of this as I relax and just wind down in bed. But I did catch the latter part and just wanted to add some input. When Alex said that, hey, we do that Paul invoked God and the angels because he says that they were witnesses. Basically, what I was saying is that the reality of it all is that angels are all around us. So there's nothing I can do that some angel somewhere won't see. And God is omnipresent. So if Paul said, I do this as the witness of God and the angels, anything we do, angels will see. Now, there's theories amongst Protestants, or I would say evangelicals, that angels document things that we do and report it to God, right? Mm-hmm. So, but that doesn't require invocation. So if I were to hypothetically steal a car, angels probably saw that. They most likely saw it. And guess what? Demons probably saw it. And God definitely saw it. So there's no issue in Protestantism when somebody says, hey, the angels are a witness to me praying with you, my brother, or the angels are a witness to us playing basketball. Because, yes, angels see everything, right? Demons see everything. God sees everything. Now, it might not be the same angel, but Paul didn't say, hey, Saint Michael, I invoke you right now. He said, I do so with the angels, plural. He didn't name an angel. He said it plural. Now, had Paul said something along the lines like, hey, Saint Michael or Saint Gabriel, the archangel, or something along the lines, he would have had an argument. But Paul didn't say that. Paul was saying angels in the general sense. And that's where that doctrine falls short.
Okay, so you weren't saying that all angels know about what's going on. You were saying that there's some angel somewhere that
angels in like in a general sense. Yeah.
Okay, that
correct.
That makes sense.
Well, and to your point, like if you go back and listen to our discussion, and I mean, I'll just recap it here. We mentioned that passage, it's in Timothy, right? Isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is probably one of the weaker passages, because I can say like when people say God is my witness, well, okay, well we're not trying to
we're not invoking, right?
Right. We're just saying that God is witnessing and kind of authority. Or when you put your hand in the Bible, we're like, this is before God, and then we're doing this, and so it's not that you're invoking them. So I do get your argument there, and I think it was one of the weaker passages. But it, to me, like it doesn't necessarily, it doesn't necessarily defeat like the whole argument. I'm just saying, like out of the whole argument, weaker passage for Alex to push the point. But I got your point on that passage.
Yeah. And then even if we go to the Talmud, he went to the Talmud, he went to Enoch, and he got upset at Enoch because he goes, well, JP, it says he's in the land of the angels. Buddy, that's how someone can just walk into the land of the angels in the book of Enoch and not have an issue is your problem, not mine. And I told him that in the debate. I said, that's your problem that someone can just walk into the land of Enoch or the land of angels and talk to Enoch. And so, that kind of reference, but I would like to help your platforms, fellas, because I do want to help out as many Protestants as I can. So if you guys want to send me a mention, maybe we could do a show or do a call or do, challenge EOs. We could do something. Because I do want to help your channel out one way or another.
That's very kind of you, JP.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you guys think of anything, any ideas, or maybe want to do a particular show on calling out EOs and maybe having dialogues or something, or maybe I could have you guys on my channel or something to try to push forward some Protestants out there, man. Let me know.
Okay, cool. No, that's really cool. Is there anything from your guys' debate that you want to clarify while you're still here?
Yeah, so when he mentioned the word pray, and he said that the word pray means ask, I didn't want to get into a 3-hour debate on that. I just wanted to just grant it and move on. I go, okay, you know what? Pray means this. Okay, pray means ask. Let's just focus on what the debate is. Does pray mean you can pray to someone in another realm in heaven? And so I wanted to focus on that. And I think I was able to do that. And if I would have gotten into a 3-hour debate on the word prayer, we would have lost a lot of time. So I just wanted to make that clear. I know that the word prayer has a lot more nuance. It involves worship. It involves faith. It's not a matter of you guys asking me how I'm doing, right? Because you asking me how I'm doing doesn't involve faith. And so we know that and we understand that. But in a debate where you're trying to kind of just move on, you kind of grant those things and keep it pushing, because if you start having little debates on technicalities like that, you just won't get anywhere. So I just wanted to clarify that. I know that the word prayer has a lot more nuance than just simply asking, because if I'm not praying to my dog when I ask her to sit, you know what I'm saying?
Right. When Alex made that analogy in the debate, you really seem to not agree with him on if you tell your dog to go and get something like that. That's not the same thing. Am I understanding you right in that?
Yeah, and you're correct. But like I said, when you're having a debate like that, you kind of just want to roll with it and just keep it pushing, because what these guys tend to do is that they try to spend hours on little technicalities, and before you know it, the debate is over and the debate turns into what does prayer mean. And so I was trying to really avoid that and get into his sources, and I believe that all of his sources were refuted. I think he went to the Talmud. I refuted him there. He went to Enoch. I refuted him there. He went to Job. He didn't really press the issue. And even when we went to Ignatius, I told him, let's read the full context so I can show you that this doesn't mean Ignatius is praying to angels in heaven or praying to saints in heaven. And he refused. So the only source he had was the church mother, if you will. And when I looked up quote, when I looked up that quote, essentially what it was is that she had a vision of her having a face-to-face conversation with somebody. There was no invocation there. And the other one, Saint Hippolytus, I mean, they're really, really putting a lot in the back of the word entreat. They're really putting a lot there, because Saint Hippolytus wrote commentaries on prayers, and he never mentioned praying to saints in heaven in his later writings, which is very interesting. And one of the arguments that Alex makes is, well, the reason they didn't condemn it is because the reason they didn't write about it was because it was so normal. But the problem with that is that praying to God is even more normal than that. And they wrote about that, right? The early church wrote about praying to God. The early church wrote about praying to each other, and those things were normal. And so his argument is, well, it was so normalized that they never even bothered to write down intercession of the saint prayers in the 1st century and 2nd century. And if you're going to use that, well, then how can you explain all the people that wrote about praying to God? Praying to God is way more normal than praying to a saint in heaven. So that argument doesn't follow. And that was basically what he was trying to do. Just try to push those kind of arguments all over the place. And unfortunately, it just was not working. He was saying that the Talmud, and I never thought, listen, fellas, I'm 34 years old. I never thought we'd be opening
you're a young
up
man.
Talmud. Yeah, but in my years, I never thought I'd be opening up a Talmud to see if a Christian doctrine is true or not.
Right.
Granted, they say, oh, we're only trying to use the Talmud as a historical reference, but you're literally reading the text, and we're debating whether the text means you can pray to the dead. So we're actually exegeting the Talmud to see if it proves your doctrine. I never thought. I mean, what's going to be next? The Quran? Are we going to read the Quran and say, well, Muhammad spoke to an angel, and therefore that proves intercession of the saints? Are we going to read the Hindu Vedas? I really wonder, where are we going to draw the line? And so the fact that I've had to open up Jewish literature, I've had to open up rabbinic Jews from the 1st century, where Rabbi Hanina ben Dosa never wrote about praying to saints in heaven. And that's what the Talmud claims. That's what they say the Talmud is claiming. But when you read the 1st century sources, they're not there. And then on top of that, the Talmud makes a bunch of claims on the Old Testament. And when you open up the Old Testament, none of those things are there. And the Talmud doesn't substantiate how it is that these things are in the Old Testament. It doesn't substantiate it. And so it'll make a claim. It'll say, hey, people pray in Rachel's grave. They went there to pray in Rachel's grave. And then you open up the Old Testament, and there's just nothing there about anybody praying in Rachel's graves. So then I would have to take the Talmud's word for it. And the Talmud's a 5th century compilation of 3rd century rabbis and 4th century rabbis. And why would I trust the Talmud to tell me what's happening in the Bible? And I just did not think, I just didn't think we'd go this far. And, I think even then I refuted him. It's just, go ahead, brother.
No, I was just going to say, like, another thing the Talmud says, and we'd mentioned this earlier on in the stream. Another thing the Talmud says is, it says Christ was a sorcerer. Like he was a witch. That's what the Talmud says. And I don't know if we want to use the Talmud as a source for Christian theology when stuff like that is in there.
Yeah, correct. Because they say, oh, we're using it as a historical source, but you have to exegete it and put your interpretation into it. And the Talmud is just not a reliable source. I'm sorry, it's not. Mm-hmm. And this is how far we have to get to try to prove this doctrine. These guys are willing to go to the Book of Enoch. They're willing to go to all these books that are just so, pretty much rejected by Catholics and Protestants. You fellas are both Protestants, correct?
Yeah. I'm actually a fellow Pentecostal, so we're kind of in the same camp, you and me.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. Oh, so I really got to help your channel now, man.
Yeah.
Are you Hispanic?
Yeah. And on that though, JP, I thought on your end.
Well, brother, are you Hispanic before that? Are you Hispanic?
No. I'm Romanian.
Okay. Wow. Pentecostal Romanian. Wow. Wow. Yeah. It's so rare. I'm impressed.
Yeah. Well, and I'm also German, so I have some Protestantism in the German part of me. Yeah.
We got to talk, brother. We got to do a couple of shows or something.
Yes. Yeah. No, it sounds good. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And so just something in your favor, JP. I thought one thing you did that was really well is you did get him to admit that in the Talmud you will have rabbis that disagree with each other.
Correct.
On the same page, and I did think you were right when you brought up that is a problem for his argument, so like kudos to you for actually getting him.
He also made another admission. He said he doesn't know any other church father writings. He just doesn't know. Right. So he was really banking on Saint Hippolytus and that church mother, if you will. He was really banking on those. And after I looked up the quote with that particular saint, that female saint, it didn't prove the case. So all he really has is Saint Hippolytus, and he didn't want to even go through origin. He didn't want to even open the context. He just said, let's move on.
Right.
So all he really had was a bunch of rhetoric. But when we look at the sources, he really had nothing. And, you know, his biggest argument, ironically, was an argument from silence. Because he told me, well, JP, tell me where they condemned it. Well, that's an argument of silence, the very same thing you're accusing me of. The difference is that I have all of the 73 book canon, right? And this is, I say 73 book canon because I'll grant their canon, because I do not believe that the 73 book canon teaches Catholicism. I don't believe that it does. I don't believe any of it does. I don't believe Enoch does. I don't believe any of that does. I simply do not believe they believed that in that time. Some did, but the Old Testament specifically it forbids that. And another thing I wanted to mention is, conveniently, he didn't know what necromancy was. Did you guys catch that? Very convenient that in a debate, such a intellectual lawyer like that did not know what necromancy meant. And
yeah,
that
so
to me,
on his end, given his education, I was a little surprised at that, and like on his end, he was right that typically necromancy is connected with black magic, but you were right in that typically, again, I say typically because these old words, and we talked about this earlier, these old words can be different things in different times and different places, but typically necromancy is the act of using black magic to summon the dead, to get the future, or in you know, like
or to get hidden knowledge.
Hidden knowledge.
But there's usually
exactly.
some aspect of invoking, like summoning, which again too, and earlier in the stream we were talking about that you would have to go back, because you can open up a dictionary now and you can look up necromancy, but that doesn't necessarily mean that is the exact way the authors, you know, intent, like meant it. So we're trying to kind of be gracious on both sides to say, I think to a degree you guys were both right, like both right in areas and talking past each other in areas in that. Trying to be just gracious to both sides to say it like kind of like how you conceded and said with deciding on a definition of prayer, because I know that could be a whole debate about like, oh, well, how are we defining prayer in all these different contexts and these things. So it's like in a general sense, sure, it's asking. So with necromancy, you guys just didn't come to a consensus of how you wanted to define it, and so therefore
you were defining it differently.
You're just not going to land on the same place because of the fact that you guys didn't define it exactly the same either. And so
and I was gonna say the Old Testament defines it as inquiring of the dead, period. So it has, so when you open up the BDAG, it seems like there's a couple of brackets with that word, and obviously that would have turned into a debate itself. One is black magic, and then the other one is inquiring. So just inquiring, and you look up the word inquiring, you know, asking is strictly forbidden. And so here's the deal. So I had an argument set up if he would have said that, oh, well, in the Old Testament, the saints were not alive how they were in the New Testament. So I was kind of waiting for him to hit me with that, because if you look at the Old Testament and you look at the Hebrew, it strictly says any type of inquiring. So if he would have said, well, in the Old Testament, the saints were not alive how they were in the New Testament, so they were dead in the Old but not dead in the New, the Book of Wisdom says that they're alive. So I was going to hit him with that. I was like, wait a minute, in the Old Testament, they were also alive how they were alive in the New Testament, because the Book of Wisdom says they were alive in the same way. But obviously we couldn't come to an agreement, and I think he kind of knew where I was heading, and that's why he kind of took that approach. you know, and I get it. And I'm not going to say he was dishonest, because when I asked him on the church fathers, did he have any other writings or anything, he's flat out said he didn't know. So I give him some credit there regarding the honesty points. But I will say it is problematic that all you have is potentially a church father that is disputed on whether he believed it, and nobody else talked about this in the first 3 centuries of the church. And you have particular encryptions. You know, the big debacle. I said encryptions.
Yeah,
The big.
yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
let me be very
man,
clear.
like I was feeling for you, brother, because it was like, you know, like you just, you know, the words are close, and anybody can make that mistake. But it's like it's like when you're in an online debate and you misspell one word, and then everybody just pretends like you're stupid but like you were right, you know. But so anyways, my heart went out to you, buddy. Like it was
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't upset because those were the reasons people said I lost. And that's a very good reason to quote unquote lose. If people are saying I lost the debate because I said encryptions and because I read the slide, a guy literally said, well, JP was playing with his beard. This is literally, this happened. A guy said I lost because I was playing with my beard, and that means I was nervous. Another guy said I lost because I said the word encryptions. And then another person said I lost because I read the slides very articulate. So they said, hey, JP doesn't normally talk that way. So
he's too smart, and that's why you lost?
Yeah, so I got all three, but nobody said I lost because my refutations were inaccurate. Nobody said I lost for those reasons. And that to me is a win. You know what I'm saying? All right, well, this is why you said I lost? Well, then I guess I must have done much better than what I thought, because these are no reasons to say I lost at all. But, you know, even the inscriptions that were in the latter to mid part of the 3rd century, I was able to prove that those inscriptions are a little bit more ambiguous than what they would like you to know, because scholars would tell you that they're dated from the 3rd to 4th. And so if it's from 3rd to 4th, that means that it's at the latter part of the ante-Nicene era. And in that case, you cannot say that it was established apostolically, which means it's a development and something that formed later on, not something that formed in the very beginning. And the Eastern Orthodox Church says this was a normative, dogmatic, salvific doctrine that was passed down by the apostles. And if we see formation in the latter part, in the early part of the 4th century, you cannot say that this was there in the 1st century. You would have to substantiate that.
I will say that his point on I do think that the liturgies are a good evidence toward his views, because it is a part of the Orthodox view of worship. It's like that is part of their beliefs and doctrines, is what is in liturgies. So I wouldn't discount. I wouldn't discount.
Actually,
that.
I was going to ask JP about that, Drew. Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah.
So JP, we had an Orthodox Christian in the comments, and she had pointed out that the liturgies were written by the church fathers, and so so the argument was that the liturgies are writings of the church fathers. How would you respond to that?
Yeah, very good. I actually looked into that. The problem with the liturgies is that you need to substantiate what was a later addition in the liturgy and what was early. And so you'll have a liturgy from the 3rd century with 7th century additions. And that's the problem the scholars argue. So an EO would say, hey, this liturgy here has prayers of the saints. But that prayer that was in that liturgy could have been or is a later addition. So we will need to go per the liturgy and see what liturgy tracks down to what. And so there have been liturgies that they found where they go, JP, look, this is a prayer to Mary, and it's a damn 8th century edition. And that's the problem. So it's easy to say, hey, the church fathers wrote it, I will need to see the liturgy at hand, see what was written, and see if the scholars, the consensus amongst the scholars, is that that same father wrote it. But what you often have is a writing in style A, and then in addition with the style Z. Well, wait a minute. If this liturgy is from the same church father, why do we have 4 different styles, right? And so that's the big thing. That's the big debate. Had he given me a liturgy writing and cited one instead of giving me in a general sense, the liturgies were written by this, which one? Do you have an example? And then we can look at the liturgy and see. Now, regarding 3rd century liturgies that we have, 3rd century liturgies, no 3rd century liturgy has a prayer to saints in heaven. None. There's no 3rd century liturgy that has, or I would say an 1819 era liturgy that has a writing that goes, hey, the Lord is good, Jesus is great, worship, 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 Eucharist, 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 God is great, God is good, pray to Mary. That doesn't exist. Not in the 3rd century. It's not till we get to the 4th century that starts to appear. And that's when the development of intercession of the saints starts to develop. So it's very convenient that now the liturgies in the 4th century are starting to have these things, but the ones in the 3rd century didn't. And so when you look at the liturgies are all a mess due to the additions that they have. That's the problem with the liturgy. So,
Okay.
if he would have shown me one and gone, this is a liturgy right here. Like, for example, when I debated Jay Dyer used the same argument. And I went and looked at the liturgies, and we're talking 17th century. It was ridiculous. It was ridiculous, some of the liturgies that I looked up that he mentioned.
Have you checked out the rule of Saint Pachomius that was written around 320 AD? It's kind of like it's kind of a rule of like, it's faith stuff. It's like almost like a mini liturgy. It's like some prayers and stuff, and it also refers to it does bring up intercession of the saints.
Have you come across that one, JP?
Yeah, I would have to look at it. If it's 320 AD, I would have to look at it. But that would almost be the latter part of the 3rd century, if I'm not mistaken. And at that particular point, that's when the developments begin to occur. So that's another issue at hand. But if they're arguing that a church father wrote it in the 1st century, if that's the argument, they would need to substantiate it. And unfortunately, the problem at hand is that they would say the church fathers wrote it, but no church father in the 1st century period ever wrote anything like that in that time period. That's the problem at hand.
Right. So, Drew, you in your understanding, it was 320.
I was looking it up for this particular, the rule of Saint. I'm probably pronouncing his name wrong. Pachomius. It shows. I Google again. Google is bringing up the correct date. I'm just saying it shows that it says was written around 320 AD. So that'd be
320. Okay, so Nicaea was in 325. So we're getting very close to the line.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's what. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, go ahead. Go ahead, bro. We're playing.
So JP, I'm Canadian, and Drew is just really polite, and so you're dealing.
No, it's because I have my camera. I have my camera off, so he can't see my lips. That's the main thing.
Go ahead, Drew.
So I will say, because I haven't done a deep dive. I've done a little, like, just to like briefly look into this topic briefly for like preparing for me and Chris to like listen and discuss this. I did find that there does seem to be some things and also some arguments from scripture that I think are decent points to Alex's position. And again, like he was saying that it's a cumulative argument. You're not going to just like find like it just like super definitive everywhere. But I do think that there are just like as polite pushback. I do think there are some decent arguments from Old Testament literature that was written in the Old Testament periods that seem to point to like that there seems to be a level of intercession of the saints again, as we're defining like saints being, or Chris and I talked about the word used there for holy ones being angels as well, because
let me say this. So it is clear, very clear, that the early church believed that the saints in heaven pray for us. That's very clear. The early church did not debate that. The early church believed that as soon as a martyr died, they were praying for you in heaven. That's what they believed. That's very clear in all of the church father writings. So I cannot dispute that. I cannot debate that. And Maccabees makes it very clear, because Onias was a person that was unalived, and he was praying for Israel. So that's very clear. Regarding the divine council, yes, there was a divine council. My argument is that anybody invoke that divine council. And so some people argue that the divine council is invocable, but the question at hand is, did anybody do that? And so, yes, there are arguments that can be made. And so the arguments that are made fall on. Hold on, give me 1 second. Hold on.
Oh, I don't know where he went.
Maybe he'll pop back in.
Yeah. And so they're just being silence. While we're waiting on them. Something that I do find interesting, because again, I'm looking into, it is an interesting topic. Oh, hey, there you go. I was about to like just try to fill the space while we were waiting on you.
No. Yes, I was parked somewhere, so somebody was trying to leave, so I got out the way. But yeah, so an argument can be made, but the question at hand is, how probable is it? And so, I don't feel the issue at hand is this. Here's the issue. If you personally believed in intercession of the saints as a Protestant, if you were to tell me, hey, JP, I came to the conclusion you can pray to a saint, I'll debate you on it. We'll have discussions, and I will disagree as brothers, but I'll say, you know what? You're entitled to your opinion. You will answer to God. But is it a salvific doctrine for me if I don't believe it? And you're going to probably say, JP, no, it's not. The problem with these guys, and the reason that I harp on this doctrine, is because they say it's a salvific, dogmatic, normative doctrine passed down by the apostles. And when you make it that, where someone can be an Eastern Orthodox and get kicked out and be anathema, they don't believe this. Now the claims hold more weight, and you're going to have to give me a little bit more than the divine council. And Job could have prayed to an angel. You're going to have to give me a little bit more than that, right? Because now this is equal to the Trinity now. The Trinity is dogmatic, just how this is dogmatic, and that's the problem, right? There's a lot of things. Go ahead.
My understanding, and maybe I'm wrong on it, is my understanding is that it's not a necessary for salvation in a strict. Even if they so the thing is if they're believing that it's true, and they believe that it's a good practice to do, just as we would, if the argument is, hey, just as I would ask you guys to pray for me, I'm asking them, and the prayers of a righteous person avails much. And so just like thinking of it that way, then I think, again, my argument or my trying to still man with their position may be wrong, but my thought would be that the position is that if you are actively arguing against it, then you're fighting against an established doctrine by the church. Not that if you simply say, hey, I'm fine, But if you argue against it, you're kind of arguing against the church. If you're saying, hey, maybe I don't participate in it all the time, but like I'm okay with it or whatever, then I don't think that they would have an issue with that. Like as long as you're not saying I think condemn the practice or whatever.
Yeah, so I think that if you talk to the common layman, they might say what you just said, but per Nicaea 2 says if you don't invoke saints, let them be anathema. Nicaea 2 says that.
Wait,
so Nicaea 2, yeah. Yeah, so if you look, Nicaea 2 says if you don't invoke saints, let him be anathema.
Is that the Nicaea 2? Is that the one with that was the icon stuff?
Yeah, it was the one with the icons.
Well, so okay,
Yeah.
so my art again. I'm trying to still man the position because I don't want to misrepresent anybody. So my understanding of Nicaea 2 is that so the anathemas. So the kind of the thought is, if you're not already in the institution per se, then like it's not really directed at you. The anathemas are like directed at people that are saying that they're part of the institution, but then are turning around and like rejecting the consensus of the church. And so you're just like, okay, because the thing is if you're not like, I'm using this, if you're not a part of the country club, then the country club's rules or whatever is not going to apply to you. If you're part of the country club, then the rules are going to apply to you. So if you're like breaking the rules of the country club, then like, well, then the anathema or the issue is going to apply to
and
you.
That's fair. That's a fair critique and a fair pushback. Where I would push back to you is, well, then if somebody's an Eastern Orthodox, now they're in a situation where if they come to a revelation that this doctrine's not true, then they're anathema. See?
Well, so the argument again, I'm trying to like, because I'm trying to just argue it for it to say, then the thing would be is that sure, let's say somebody then says I don't agree with this any longer. Well, the argument is that well, then you are blatantly rejecting the established doctrines from the church itself. So you are pushing back. So yeah, I mean, in a sense, but that is the thing.
And anathema means
part of it
severed from the. Yeah.
Then you're not. Then it doesn't. Because I've heard people before be like, well, hey, these anathemas, like, is it pointed at me? It's like, well, if you're not even in the particular institution, then it's not really applied to you because these things are in responses, like sometimes they're very harsh responses to and pushbacks, kind of like in a pendulum swing when there's a lot of let's say in our society people are doing really stupid things. So on the other end of the spectrum, you're going to have a lot harder pushback against something that you see as wrong. So the argument is like, well, then they're coming down hard on people that they view as like pushing back the established doctrine of the church.
Yeah, but you think about it though. If somebody's in this institution and they reject this doctrine for reasons that we mentioned, and now the institution is claiming that they're anathema, which means severed from the body of Christ, that's 100% unbiblical on what the gospel is, right? And that's the main issue I have with this doctrine. To me,
yes.
Let me say this. To me,
yeah, go ahead.
This, and I've said this before, and I mean this in love, but it gives me cultish vibes. I'll be honest. It's almost like it's a situation where, hey, if you don't agree 100% how we agree, we will declare you anathema, severed from the body of Christ. And for a doctrine such as intercession of the saints, where the arguments I have made, now understand the arguments that are made back, that's a problem, because the arguments for this to be put on the level of the Trinity, the arguments are very, very, very anemic, to say the least.
And trying
Well,
to,
and I also
oh,
think
sorry, go ahead.
like from what you're saying, JP, as a Protestant, if I don't pray to the saints, if I don't agree with that, I'm not anathema as a Protestant
No,
because I'm not
no.
in their church. But it's actually it's within my best interest that if I'm on the fence, I should not convert to Orthodoxy, because if I do, I could go to hell.
Well, you could go. Well, you could go to hell. You could go to hell now because there's you don't sound very ignorant to me, so you might be in danger of hell right now.
Oh, because I'm not. I don't
Yeah,
have enough ignorance. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, you sound pretty brilliant in this area. And brother Drew, you should have not looked into this doctrine, because now you really have no excuse. Both of you guys are on your way to hell now. Go ahead.
Yeah, there was a hope for us before we did the research,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Before you did the research, now it's too late. Welcome to hell, my friends.
We're damned if we do and damned if we don't. Yeah.
Well, I'm just again like the trying to stillman the because we don't have someone like authoritatively representing Orthodoxy, so therefore trying to provide the best I trying to provide some pushback. So the argument would be, from my understanding, that according to like the apostolic authority that's been passed down, and the conciliar authority as well, and the authority that's given to specific individuals in the church, with what we see in the New Testament to bind and loose. We see the keys. We see, trying to like saying, hey, if this is the established doctrine, which and I released a video on this, that it does seem pretty consistent that in church generally pretty universally did hold to apostolic succession. So like if that doctrine is true, for argument's sake, to say if it's true and the authority is given to specific individuals, and continuing to pass that authority, then in a sense, from I could understand from an Orthodox perspective that they would say, well, then the church, if they have that authority, then have the right, to make statements like that. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so like,
and the issue with that is they have no way of proving. For example, the doctrines, they say that the doctrines were passed down by oral tradition. For example, certain things that Paul taught were passed down by oral tradition, and so on and so forth. Problem at hand is that they have no way to prove what those doctrines are, right?
Would you say that from the
By the way, I know what they are. By the way, I do know what those doctrines are. Everything that was eventually written in the scriptures. So I know.
Are apostolic, yeah. Yeah, the scriptures are apostolic writings.
Yeah.
Would you say though that the church that did, again, I'm just keep prefacing this. I'm trying to like stillman to provide.
Oh, yeah, of course.
To say that, okay, let's take the Nicene church, or the church that then did help to organize the canon and these things, or Chalcedon, however you pronounce it. So taking these, that by that point, it does seem that the church seems to be articulating things that indicate that they believe in intercession of the saints, at least by that point. So if we concede that and say, okay, well, we're just pretend that we've not been arguing the other part. We just say, all right, we're starting here, and we just say we see. Do we trust their writing and authority on like the Nicene Creed? Do we trust their authority on?
So
Chalcedon?
Yeah.
Do we trust?
Let me respond to that.
Yeah.
Yes, we can trust them, but not infallibly. And so that's the issue at hand. We can trust somebody but that doesn't mean we have to trust them infallibly and blindly. So if a council created, let's say a council, just giving you an example, let's say, well, this is a real life example. Hey, we have a 66-book canon. Okay, boom. Very good, very beautiful. Okay, a council gave us that. But what the council and the church is teaching seems to contradict what is written in that 66. Well, the 66 claims to be the very words and inspired words of God. And so now that's where, as Christians, we contend and we challenge those so-called authorities that compiled the books of the Bible, the particular canon, right? Because if they compiled a canon that are the very words of God, and those words are now contradicting some of the things that the church believed, we are within our rights to say, hey, sure, thank God for this early church, pre-Nicene, etc. We trust what they did, but I don't trust them infallibly. And that's what I would say.
Right. Mm-hmm. So, JP, I have an argument that I'm really curious to get your take on. It's somewhat facetious, and so I don't know how Drew will feel about this. But so the Catholics say that their church was founded by Christ, right? Goes back to Christ.
Uh-huh.
But I can say as a Pentecostal, my church was founded by the Spirit. So
yeah, it's funny. I actually argue that. Believe it or not.
Yeah.
When Catholics tell me, "Oh, we're earlier than you are," I go, "No, you're not. Do you cast out demons and spread the gospel? How we do in the Book of Acts? Do you speak in tongues? How they do in the Book of Acts? I'm the true early church. You're not. We emulate Acts. You don't." And so I actually argue that, and it actually gets them annoyed. I go, "Well, how many demons did you cast out?" And obviously I'm not going around casting out demons. You know what I'm saying? That's not my speed. I get freaked out real quick.
I've seen you make a manifest a couple times, though.
Yeah, no, I mean that's not the kind of I'm talking about actual.
I'm fairly certain. My wife and I saw a person dealing with at least demonic oppression.
No, yeah, I don't. Yeah, I'll be honest. That's not my specialty. When I see demon, that's not my thing. Now I'll send them to Drew. Drew seems like an expert on that area, maybe.
I'm
not messing around with demons. That's the one thing with Pentecostals, man. They like casting out demons.
Hey, we will pray and anoint them with oil.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's
in the name of Jesus.
Yeah. So JP, seeing as I have you here, looking back on the debate, what do you think was Alex's weakest argument that he made?
I think that, well, to be fair, he admitted it. I mean, he admitted the Talmud was split decision amongst rabbis, and he admitted he didn't have church father writings. And then he mentioned liturgies, but I couldn't really look into them. And so I just think he didn't have any sources, man. I mean, we go piece by piece to the sources he brought up, from the book of Enoch to the book of Job. I really do believe I refuted all of his sources. I mean, I went on both. I mean, even in our cross-examinations, I knew his arguments before he brought them up. I mentioned the Talmud. I mentioned Enoch. I mentioned all these things. I mentioned the book of Levi. I mentioned all these things before he even brought them up. I think he had very good rhetoric, but he didn't have enough sources. I just don't think he had enough sources. Everything he brought up, the divine council, Job allegedly praying to the divine council, but he didn't have an example of Job doing it. He didn't have anything. And so I just think he lacked sources. And so what he was trying to do was bring 50 pieces of evidences. I can't get through all 50, right? I could broad brush all of them, but I don't think he had anything there. I don't think he had anything there. And to be fair, there's not much you can bring. I don't think the doctrine existed. That's why they have to go to the Talmud. I really don't believe the doctrine existed. And so that's why the early, what did exist? Angel worship. And that's why the church fathers did address angel worship. In fact, even the Bible addresses angel worship.
Yeah, it does.
The Bible says don't pay mind to those who worship angels. So the early church dealt with that, but ironically, the Eastern Orthodox believe you can pray to angels in heaven, even though the Eastern Orthodox Church is aware that Origen and Saint Irenaeus both condemned it. You see, so
it would be interesting to get Amber on here. I know she went to bed, but I'm just saying, like, to get.
Oh yeah, that would be another debate, though.
Is that the Catholic sister? Is that the Catholic sister?
She's
Orthodox. Yeah.
Yeah.
An interesting passage I will throw out there to say that I've heard this one brought up, and I think it's interesting. Is it's also quoted by I don't know if it's Messianic Jews. It's quoted by Jewish people as a I'm trying to remember the context.
Are you talking about the angel one where he called out to the angel
in Genesis 48?
Yeah, 16? Because that angel was the angel of the Lord. That's Jesus.
True, but I'm saying that it's either a current Jewish practice. It's a current Jewish practice that they will quote that, and because they don't believe in Jesus, then but they still quote it as in appealing to angels. Like they view it as.
Oh, I hear you. Yeah, so I hear you there.
That's my point. Is like, yes, the angel of the Lord, we would say, oh, that's Jesus. But I'm just saying a point for something to think about is that.
Oh, absolutely. I would like to see. Yeah, I would like to see what is the earliest. If you could do a quick Google search for me real quick, because it shouldn't take you too long. See what was the earliest century when they started to quote that. You can do that for me.
Yeah, let me look.
Just do a quick Google search. Be like, hey, what's the first documented source of Jews quoting this in their prayers?
I'm pulling it up. What is the earliest source?
So while he looks it up, JP, if you could go back and do the debate again, what would be one moment that you would want to redo?
Well, now that I know that female saint was not teaching intercession of the saints, I would have clobbered him on that.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know at the time, but now I know. So he's not going to be able to use that again.
Right. Because it was a visionary experience.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And within that vision, she was having a face-to-face interaction. It wasn't, Drew, what are we looking?
It says the earliest recorded source of Jews quoting Genesis 48:16 as an established liturgical prayer is the Geonic, Siderum prayer books of the 9th and 10th centuries CE, most notably.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying, brother. It's always these late centuries, bro.
Trying to provide a stillman is to say that if because Chris and I mentioned before too, is that Christianity is a continuation of Judaism, just like properly, because the thing is that like it's not like it's two different religions. Like the early Jews, it moved into Christianity because it's one story, and then later Jews, split off that didn't believe in Christ, and so there does seem to be some intertestament writings, some that we could debate about in the Old Testament, some passages.
Oh, absolutely.
And even in Genesis. Just give me a second. So I'm just saying that the argument could be made that if you pull these together and we do see evidence of Jews believing in it, and so that belief wouldn't have just came out of nowhere. So if there's writings that seem could be argued and seem to indicate the belief at least is somewhat present in the Old Testament, and then you have Jews in the New Testament period that are writing about it, even like you guys talked about, debating it, and then you have liturgical prayers by Jews still practicing it later, then there seems to at least be that in Judaism there at least was seems to be a continuation of it present from like Old Testament times into the New Testament times. I'm just saying, like, for argument's sake, it seems that an argument can be made for that, and then to say, okay, if Christians are continuing, like, I mean, Jesus was a Jew, Paul was a Jew, like, so if they're continuing these beliefs, an argument could be made that if they're continuing these things that are present, that you do see Jews also participating in later in the New Testament period, that it wouldn't be far-fetched to say if that is present, then it wouldn't be anything weird for Christians participating in. Because
I would say if that were the case, then we would see people in the New Testament doing it, Christian Jews doing it, and they don't. And so that's the problem I would have. It's like, okay, well, you're saying that in the Old Testament it was common, and that it's a lineage that goes down to the New Testament in 3rd century and on and beyond. If it was happening, it definitely stopped in the New Testament church. Because Paul didn't do it, Peter didn't do it, John didn't do it, Jesus didn't teach us to do it. Nobody did it. And so that's where I kind of go, okay, I hear you there, but I would have to see some form of practice by the apostles or the book of Acts, and it just doesn't exist. And that's my problem.
Mm-hmm.
If it goes existed, doesn't exist, and then exists, I have to question why there was a pause.
It is interesting. A point is interesting that when Jesus was on the cross, that the crowd responded that they believed that he was calling out to Elijah, which I find to be an interesting point, because it's like, okay, well, why in the world would they be thinking he's appealing to Elijah? That's I
did answer that to Alex, and Alex again had no response. I told Alex, I said, Alex, first off, that crowd was mocking them. If you look at the people who were in the crowd, it was mocking. So I think they were trying to mock Christ into a blasphemy and say that Jesus Christ was sinning, because the people in the crowd, although there were some Christians, there were a lot of non-believers. Additionally, in the book of James, what a beautiful opportunity for the book of James to mention you could pray to Elijah, right? And it mentions that Elijah's a righteous man. This is all in James chapter 5. It says that Elijah's a righteous man, but guess who the book of James tells you to pray to? In the bracket talking about prayer, it says you pray to God, but if you need prayer, you go to your elders of the church and they will anoint you with oil. It doesn't say you additionally go to Elijah, although the text tells us that Elijah was a righteous man. And so I always couple those together. I go, James chapter 5, James had the perfect opportunity to say, hey, Elijah's a righteous man, ask him for prayer too. He doesn't say that. He says, ask your elders here on this realm, and they will anoint you with oil. And that's the biggest pushback. Again, I made that argument to Alex. I don't know how much you guys got deep into the debate, but again, he didn't even touch it.
Yeah, we mostly centered on the cross X. But that was actually one argument from him that I wasn't, so the one I was least impressed with, I did not think his argument from 1 Timothy was a strong argument at all. And as for the other argument, I didn't think that was that great either, was that argument of him calling out to Elijah. And the reason why is he left it open-ended, and it's so easy for you to just say, well, there's like, it doesn't like, it's so easy to refute because it's so open-ended, because the way he presented it was, well, why else would they do that? To which gives you an opportunity to say, well, this is why, and this is why. Right?
Yeah.
Like, so I wasn't impressed with that argument.
By the way, fellas, I have a buddy of mine that has a decently sized channel, and he hosts people. I know him. I helped him build the channel. If you guys are interested in doing a panel, hey, we're Protestants, come ask us questions, I would love to tell him to host you guys, and Catholics and Neos can come up and ask you guys questions and challenge you guys. If you guys are into that kind of thing, let me know, and I would love to help you guys with that. Reason being, I definitely want to help put your guys' names out there, because I really do enjoy this panel. It's very nice.
Okay, cool. No, again, really, really, really kind of you, JP, because we're just.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just a stranger on the internet, so I really appreciate your graciousness and your kindness.
Yeah, would you guys be interested in something like that? And then a bunch of random people can come in and ask you guys questions and things like that.
Yeah, go ahead. Drew.
Possibly, maybe. It depends on like when, and also too, it's like I'm not an expert on a lot of I'm
You don't have to
reading
be.
the early. Yeah, I'm reading the early church. I'm trying to understand how they viewed things, what they thought about the world, what their theology was. I'm as a Protestant, I think something that is a weakness is that I honestly don't know very many Protestants that I have actually read the early church. Even I asked my pastor, I was like, hey, where did basically church history start for you, and stuff. And it's like, it pretty much starts at Augustine. It's like, okay, so, I mean, there's a lot of history prior to Augustine.
Everybody reads the early church because everybody has read Acts and John. Those are the real early church guys.
Sure, but I'm talking about, you know what I mean, like
the apostolic era. The apostolic era.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. Because
no, of course,
yeah.
No, you're absolutely correct. You're absolutely correct on that. A lot of people, and to be fair, let me be honest. Reading the early church apostolic era is really depressing. I cried when I read Polycarp's letter. It was so dang depressing. So it's not fun to read the apostolic fathers because they're all getting killed. Let's just be honest. And most of their letters are, hey, pray for me in heaven. I'll pray for you in heaven when I get my head cut off. Who wants to read that? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's the majority of what you read. Like, and it's interesting. One of my favorite stories. This is a complete tangent, but Drew, you'll get to this eventually. Is there was a particular guy who was telling everybody in the early church to just go and submit to the authorities and stop running, and basically just let the animals kill you and you get it over with. Mm-hmm. So he was going around telling everybody in the churches that in the local churches, he was like, hey, everybody, I got a solution. Let's all just, because in the Colosseums they'll have bear, lions, and all these things, and the bear and lions will slaughter and clobber you, and that would be entertainment for the people at the Colosseum. Well, this guy goes, hey, I have an idea. If we all stop running and hiding from the authorities and we just let them kill us, we'll be in heaven right away. So check this out. So boom, they catch everybody and everybody's in line to get slaughtered. And this guy denies Christ so that he himself doesn't get slaughtered. Wow. So he was in line and he ended up denying Christ to save his life. And he led all those Christians to the slaughter. Wow. That was mind blowing to me. And he had a whole letter. Yeah, he had a whole letter written to him. I was like, yo, when I read that, I was like, yo, that's crazy. Like, and it's funny because he had good intentions, but what happened is that he looked in the Colosseum, he saw the bears, the lions, and all of the wild beasts, and when he saw it, he freaked out, and then he denied Christ.
There's I don't remember the name of my wife remembers hearing about it, but there was a saint that that like was getting roasted alive or something like that, and then at some point he was like, okay, this side's done, flip me over. And I was like, what the mess? Like he's like,
yeah,
okay.
Oh yeah, Polycarp didn't burn alive, as you know.
I'm saying there was another saint that like that happened to, where he was getting burnt alive, and like the faith that this guy had to say, all right, this side's done, flip me over. And I'm like, I want to have faith like that. Like, that's amazing. So
yeah, I'm trying to find the name of this guy so you guys can look him up. It's the brutal story.
Ignatius also, on his way, he was writing all these letters to go get killed, and it was like, oh, okay. Ignatius is just writing all these, I'm like, wow, all right.
Ignatius, he was metal though.
Yeah, he was like, just they're gonna hand me over to the beast. Just don't stop it. That's what his Ignatius.
Yeah. He literally told people not to rescue him. That's how next level this guy was. I think he says something like, I want the lions to grind my bones like wheat being turned into bread. Like, it was like, this guy was so next level.
I really, Clement being one of the first ones that we have his writings, I thought his letters were great. Like, it very, I don't know, the guy had it, like, you could just hear his heart and his spirit. I was like, man, I love his, like, I just quote after quote, and I was like, I like that. That's a great quote. Oh, that's good. Like, just everything I was reading from, I was like, he's just got a awesome heart. Like, you could just hear it. It was nice and edifying to read.
He's the only guy I know that writes about a phoenix.
That's, it's like, hey, there's stories of a phoenix. I'm like, okay, like that's cool. I don't know,
Yeah.
Hey, we hear of dragons. Like, why not phoenixes? Hey.
So JP, was that the most shocking thing you read in your research of the early church? Was that guy that chickened out in the last minute?
Yeah, bro, because that could have been me. I'll be honest.
Absolutely.
Like, a lot of times we're more brave than we think we are, and I pray God doesn't put me in that situation. But I don't know how I would have reacted if I would have seen lions and bears and all these things. I have to be honest. You know what I'm saying? May the Lord keep me from those things, and I know the Holy Spirit will give me strength. But it was just a crazy story. When I read that, I was like, whoa, because it was just such a plot twist. There's a book I would recommend you guys if you guys are really into the early church fathers. There's this book on Kindle. Yeah, that has every single church father writing that ever existed. Let me see if I can find it. And obviously, I didn't read it, but
I have some online sources that I use that have, pretty much everything. I found a book that was like for $1 in the Kindle store that was supposed to have everything, and it was weird because it's like it said it had everything, and then all of a sudden it didn't even have like Ignatius or Iron Ace or something like that, and I was like, this is a lie. Like, then you don't have everything. So I don't know what was up with that. It seemed it was weird.
What's the name of the book, JP?
JP, you there?
JP, you might be muted.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's called The Complete Works of the Church Fathers. I don't know if that's the one you're talking about, Drew.
I think it is, but like, it was missing when I got it on Kindle. It was missing stuff.
It might be the Kindle version.
Maybe, but it was weird. I don't understand why it was what I have.
Well, JP, you're a real nice guy. I don't care what Mahler says about you. Like, you're solid, dude.
Mahler? You watch Mahler from time to time?
Yeah, I go. He ended up. I can't remember how. Maybe it's because I was watching you. He ended up in my feed, and then I watch his stuff too. Yeah.
Here, this is the my camera's blurred. It's not focusing on it, but I have the complete of the first of the first fathers of the church. Yeah. Man, guys, it is 11:50. We've been doing this for almost 4 hours.
Yeah, you go. Yeah, we're just about getting ready to.
This is a good conversation,
you
man.
Go now, Drew, you can.
Oh, I was just saying, like, I didn't know if we wanted to start, if there was anything we wanted to like tie some loose knots up or whatever, but I would just making us aware that it's.
No, I think we pretty much said everything we can say about the debate already. Thanks for doing it, JP. It's good to see a fellow Pentecostal holding his weight in the online world.
Amen, brother. God bless you. And if I can find that writing, I'm gonna send it to you both. Chris, send me one more mention with Drew, so that I can give you guys both a follow. Just give me one more, because my mentions has been going a little wild as of late. So I'll just mention me one more time, and I'll make sure to follow you both. Right?
How,
Okay.
how do we do that? What's that mean?
Chris will do it.
Oh,
Chris will
okay.
do it.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah, just mention his @name, Chris. Mention Drew and mention yourself, and I'll follow you guys.
Yeah, I sure will.
All right, God bless you guys. Thank you.
Yeah,
All
you
right,
too.
you too. Thanks again, JP, for popping on. Well, there you go. You don't normally do a reaction video every day and have the guy show up and
Right.
and
Yeah.
give his defense. Eh? That's pretty cool.
It would have been super funny if Alex popped, I could just have a rehash of the debate, like
Yeah,
reviewing the
do part
debate and
two.
have the debate.
Yeah, do part 2. Hey, Alex, if you ever watch this, I'd be happy to have you on, and you can give your 2 cents on how things went, and yeah, no, it's good. Good. I enjoyed it. It was a good debate. Yeah. Any following and yeah, anything to close up, Drew? Anything you want to say that hasn't been said already?
I think we covered most of everything, and if we said more, it'd be pretty much rehashing stuff that we had already mentioned. To kind of, I guess, to tie up any last thoughts, it would be that I will say that I think I know that JP doesn't, of course, he just got on and he doesn't agree with the position. I will say that I think that there is a better argument for it than he's giving it credit for it, because there is Old Testament writings in these things, or that do seem to strongly indicate it, or at least I think he even admitted, he talked about how we at least see the saints like praying for us, like, or on our behalf. Maybe not the concept, from his perspective, not the concept of us making requests to them and then them interceding, but at least them like praying on our behalf. So to me, it's like, okay, well, in a sense, you're almost like halfway there, at least, to say, well, there's at least this concept of holy ones or saints being present and being aware of stuff on earth, and then them making appeals to God on our behalf. So there is at least like an aspect, some aspects, parts of it. And so it's like, okay, yeah. And so I think the strength.
Hey, brother, Quintus. That's his name, Quintus.
Quintus.
Yeah, okay. Quintus. Yeah, look that up. Yeah.
Oh, the guy that was that eventually. Yeah. Yeah.
Read up on him, bro. Yeah, crazy, bro. Crazy. I almost wish I didn't spoil it. I almost wish I didn't spoil it. Yeah, Quintus. I don't know if you could look that up.
That honestly, JP, that would be a crazy read the first time, not knowing what's about to happen. Like that's, yeah. Like that's.
And Polycarp called him out.
Did he really?
Yeah, Polycarp called him out. Called him a cow.
Oh, that's even cooler, man. Like.
Yeah. All right. Well, enjoy, guys.
All right.
It's just a joke. All right, God bless you guys.
All right. See ya.
So yeah, my thoughts would be, like, I'm trying to be generous on both sides. I don't want to beat up anybody. I did think Alex had, because he's a lawyer and he knows rhetoric better and how to position arguments better in these things, I think he did do a really good job of like his presentation. And I from having, I think that I understand his pushback. And I get like certain passages and stuff, like the arguments for, let's say the Elijah one or the Timothy one. I get, like, I totally get his pushback on those. And like we've already mentioned in the episode, I don't think the Timothy passage was in my opinion, probably one of the weakest passages to use on it. I thought the Job passage was pretty good passage. But anyhow, I think that there is at least a decent argument for it. It just depends on people saying, do they like the argument? You know what I mean? Like, it's like, okay, you can present all the evidence in the world on whatever belief, and people just have to weigh out, is it convincing enough? Is it not convincing enough to them? And our lines, that's a hard thing too, is even argument, or even or atheist people trying to figure out where their lines are, because I'm like, hey, I just keep presenting evidence for Christ, and then they'll be like, and they'll just be like, well, I just think it's not enough. I'm like, where's your line? Like, how much is sufficient to say that I concede, this or that? So I understand, no matter what argument people present, if it's for or against this or any other belief, that people have their different lines, what they see as sufficient, and that's just a tough thing. We have to weigh it out, and so on both of their behalfs, I can see, like, I can see the arguments for both, like, why JP was pushing his particular points with, like, the Talmud and with those couple passages, and his perspective on there's not just an abundance of early church fathers just like writing about it. I get that. But also I get Alex's points of like, well, there does seem to be writings that look to be the principles being present, early liturgies, even though, as JP mentioned, maybe the dates are disputed, but the liturgies didn't just spring out of nowhere either. And then Jewish beliefs tied into the New Testament, and during, even disputed, even if it's disputed in the Talmud, or even what I mentioned about that Genesis 48, them still quoting that and appealing to, even like, because they don't believe in Christ, so they're still appealing to this passage as an appeal to angels. So it's like, okay, I don't know. I'm just saying that there's principles that I think can make a pretty convincing argument to say that it's something to consider. But I do get, coming from a Protestant background, get JP's arguments as well. So I think that they both made decent arguments. Like I said, I think as far as the way it was presented, Alex, I do think presented better. But I totally, yeah. Anyhow, I'm just kind of rehashing it. But I thought it's an interesting debate. It's an interesting topic. I'm still in writing and stuff, because like I said, with the series I'm working through of trying to touch on my understanding, my understanding of what the early church held to, and that there was a general consensus of certain things, and it's fascinating to me, because again, growing up Protestant, most of everybody I know of, the early church to them is Augustine later, after. And nobody really touches the pre-Nicene church hardly, which I think is odd. I think that we should all, like, for education purposes, read it just to understand what, just to consider what people were thought about the life as a Christian and the early church.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, good thoughts, Drew. My opinion, so my takeaway from this, I think, as for Alex's argument and JP's argument, go back and definitely watch the debate, because we didn't actually cover the actual arguments they made. We covered the cross X, and I don't know what they called it, like a discussion or something. In my opinion, JP really showed up the most in the back and forth in the discussion portion. But I think I have to give points to Alex during the cross X. I do think Alex won in the cross X. Based mainly because I think JP spent too much time focusing on the what was
necromancy.
Yeah, the necromancy thing. Like,
Yeah.
he brought that up like 5 times. I think he wasted a lot of time really trying to hone in on the necromancy thing, and I think that was a mistake, because they didn't agree on the term. And so it's really difficult to win anything if you don't have at least agreement what the word means, and he made a couple good points. But I think the goal in the cross-ex is to take the opponent's position and you poke holes in their main points. And so Alex, he had 6 main points, and I think so much time was pushed on the necromancy thing, which was really difficult to win. And I think Alex, he spent more time focusing on these points, and I think JP wasn't able to poke enough holes in the 6 points. But I think what JP did well is I do think he refuted the he refuted the Talmud thing. But to be fair, the Talmud was a weak argument. If I was Alex, I never would have used the Talmud. Like, that's just a bad argument. And I think JP, he could have hit the scripture portion a little bit harder. But yeah, that's what I think. That being said, I got to give JP points. Like, he came on the channel, and he was outnumbered, and he backed up his position, and so I think if he would have pointed out a bunch of the stuff that he learned afterwards, I think he would have had a better argument. But
I mean, that's hindsight's 2020. That's how it is for everything.
Oh,
you go through a
absolutely.
debate and you're like,
Absolutely.
man, I should have articulated. And both sides probably did that after the fact. Like, going back, I bet both listened to their arguments and said, "Oh, I could have articulated this better. Oh, I shouldn't have pushed this point. Whatever." Everybody does that. So this is part of it.
Yeah. But anyways, it's late. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you again, JP, for joining us. And Alex, if you ever want to come and have a conversation, I've got lots of Orthodox people that hang out in the chat, so I'd be happy to have a conversation with you too. All right. With that being said, take care, guys, and make good arguments.